Good evening, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm sorry to hear that.
and welcome to the Daytona Beach City Commission regularly scheduled commission meeting. Today is February 2nd, 2022, and in lieu of the regularly scheduled commission meeting or the scheduled CRA meeting, we are going to cancel that meeting and we will take the item up in a workshop in the very near future. It is a very important item, but we will address it in a workshop in the very near future. At this time, we're happy to have each of you with us, and I would ask that Ms. LaMagna review the procedures for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. Agendas are available on the table in the lobby and at the front of the commission chambers. All the exhibits pertaining to items on the agenda are posted in the lobby. Please feel free to view the exhibits at any time during tonight's meeting. You are required to fill out a yellow form to speak before the City Commission on topics on the agenda. Forms are available on the table in the lobby and in the front of the commission chambers. You must complete the sections that ask for your name, address, agenda item number, signature, and date. The form must be completed and placed in the designated box. Item number 7 is your opportunity to address the City Commission concerning any item on the consent agenda. Please indicate on the yellow speaker sheet the agenda item number of the item or items that you are addressing. Items or discussions not listed on the consent agenda will not be heard during this comment section. Agenda items under item number 9 are public hearings, and citizens may speak at the designated time. And resolutions under administrative items number 10 are open for public comment, and you may fill out a yellow form to speak when that item is called. Speakers will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please speak clearly into the microphone and give your full name and address. The 3-minute clock on the monitor above the dais will start running when you begin to speak. Pay close attention to your time. You will be told when your time has expired. Item number 12 is the public comment forum, and this is the opportunity for the public to speak on any issue or topic that is not on the agenda. All citizens completing the green form will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please give your full name and address. Disorderly conduct in the public meeting of the City Commission. Article 2, Section 6238 of the City Code of Ordinances reads as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to behave in a riotous or disorderly manner in any public meeting of the City Commission or any committee, agency, or board thereof, or to cause any unnecessary disturbances therein by force, shouting, or any other action that is calculated to disrupt such meeting or to refuse to obey any ruling of the presiding officer or such meeting relative to the orderly process thereof. Please be courteous and respectful of the views of others. Personal attacks on the City Commission, city staff, or members of the public are not allowed. Please silence cell phones and other wireless devices during the meeting. All conversation must take place either at the lectern or on the dais so that everyone can hear the business being discussed tonight.
Ms. LaMagna, may we have a roll call?
We sure will. Sorry about that. Commissioner Traeger.
Here.
Commissioner Strickland.
Here.
Commissioner May.
Here.
Commissioner Cantu. Here. Commissioner Henry.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry.
Here. All right, we have everyone. At this time, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by
Commissioner Traeger.
Commissioner Traeger, and we will have our invocation led by Commissioner Reed.
You want me to pray?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Commissioner Henry, would you indulge us?
I will lift my eyes to the hill, from which comes my help. My help cometh from the Lord. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to gather in your name. We ask and pray, Heavenly Father, that you will guide us, lead us to make the right choices and make the right decisions. We ask and pray that you will heal our good sister Paula Reed so that she may pray the next time. We ask and pray, Heavenly Father, that you will continue to lift us up as a community, continue to lift us up as a nation. We ask and pray that you will bring us together as a community and as a nation, Heavenly Father. So much is going on right now, and we need you. We need your love, we need your guidance, and we need your strength. In your Son, Jesus' name, this is the prayer we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the October 13th, 2021 Bike Week Workshop and the October 20th, 2021 Beach Street Streetscape Workshop.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Traeger, second from Commissioner May. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are in opposition, same sign. This motion carries 7-0. At this time, we will have our agenda approval. If there are any changes, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, we're asking to pull item 9E, the Daytona Beach LPGA 711 PD agreement from the agenda. Add $250 to Daytona Express, Inc. for their track club from Commissioner Reed's Bike Week sponsorship funds to item number 8G. Move administrative item number 10E, the Midtown Redevelopment Board appointments, to the end of the agenda. Add applications from Lynn Thompson and Davita Bonner to item number 10E. Add addendum item 10G, Bike Week 2022 temporary parking on private property, the administrative items after item 10B, and add addenda items 10H, 10I, and 10J to the administrative items after the other Bike Week plan items have been presented. Thank you.
Also, we're pulling item 8B, which is the 777 Main Street, from consent.
Okay.
Cutting,
Okay.
do what?
We're
Pull.
pulling item 8B.
8B.
Okay.
8B. Right.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner Reed. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 6, which is our presentations. And our presentation from the mayor is a proclamation to Gamma Mu Omega. This is presented to them in recognition of 80 years of service to the greater Daytona Beach area.
First and foremost, I would like to apologize because I do own a pink tie.
I forgot to tell you.
Yes. But nonetheless, Ms. Wright, ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, we are delighted to have you in our chambers tonight. And I would like to share a proclamation with you and our community, and paying homage to each of you and your illustrious organization and the great work that you all have done and are doing and will do. In recognition of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporation, Gamma Mu Omega Chapter, whereas in 1908, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority was incorporated and became the first Greek letter organization established by black women in America. Its roots began at Howard University, where the idea was visualized by Ethel Hedgeman Lowell, and whereas on December 14th, 1941, Mildred Peterson, Joyce Ingram, Fannie Huger, Marion Lancaster, Nadine Farrell, and Angie Douglas chartered the first graduate chapter among African American Greek-lettered organization in Daytona Beach, Florida, Gamma Mu Omega. And whereas for the past 80 years, The Gamma Mu Omega chapter has been instrumental in providing outstanding service and invaluable assistance in the greater Daytona Beach community through financial contributions as facilitators of various community projects and programs. And whereas Gamma Mu Omega chapter's target programs were greatly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, it was necessary to implement the use of innovative strategies, including public awareness programs held using virtual technology and social media designed to advance the mission of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And whereas Gamma Mu Omega chapter has diligently answered the call of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporation's mission in service to all mankind via its devoted members. Now, therefore, I, Derek L. Henry, flanked by Commissioner Reed and all of the commission members of the City of Daytona Beach, and on behalf of the City of Daytona Beach, do hereby recognize Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporation, Gamma Mu Omega chapter, and am thankful for its 80 years of service and assistance in the Daytona Beach community. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the great city of Daytona Beach to be affixed this second day of February 2022. Thank you.
Ladies, would you come forward for a picture, please?
You have to turn around this way. Tell her we'll send it to him.
Did you want to say anything, Ida?
On behalf of the members of Gamma Mu Omega chapter, we just want to say thank you for this recognition, and we look forward to continuing to serve in this city and this county. Thank you.
And if you notice, one of the members is our previous city clerk.
You want to sit back?
Yeah, come down and
Okay.
you have to face
Get
this
on
way.
down, everybody.
If you're not supposed to be here, please say out the picture because it will be posted shortly. Everybody face this way.
Okay.
You want me to get in the middle? She want me to get in the middle.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right there.
Okay.
Congratulations and thank you.
Hey, Jennifer.
Oh, no, I don't.
I printed it in the lobby or something on the printer. If you can go bring it in and give it to Kim. Okay, we're going to move on to our next presentation. Item 6B, which is the presentation for Pandemic Win, the commendations. This is commendation to the members of the Pandemic Win Initiative at Bethune-Cookman University. And the goal of Pandemic Win Initiative is to showcase how, as a people, we're adapting to the pandemic and translate the science of COVID-19 to understandable information.
One of the things that I think we as a community are most proud of is our collective response to the COVID crisis that remains with us as a crisis. We as a city are proud of our response, but we are equally as proud of how we have rallied together to respond to this, the most challenging event of our lifetime. And one of the cornerstones of our community response has been Pandemic Win. And we simply want, and I know that earlier in the week, I guess it was earlier in the week, there was a expression rendered of appreciation for the work that you all have done throughout the community. But we wanted to also share with you all our personal gratitude as a commission. So I want to allow you to say a word or two about Pandemic Win and what it has meant to the community. And then what I will do is call the names and share our love and appreciation for the organization.
Thank you so much, everyone. Pandemic Win Initiative is an initiative at Bethune-Cookman University. And we've had the wonderful opportunity to partner with the Department of Health as well as Emory-Riddle University and I Am Right as well as the Interfaith Youth Corps. And our goal throughout this entire pandemic is to win together, united, and to celebrate the wins of the pandemic. We all know of the different things that we have suffered as a community, as a people, from this pandemic. And so our goal is to look at those positive parts, how we came together, how our families came together, how companies, our businesses, our restaurants, they were greatly affected, how they were able to turn around and still service the public in a very professional manner. And that was the goal of Pandemic Win. And we did this through our social media as well as through our community outreach. We participated last year in over 21 different events where we had the opportunity to interact with 2,500 people. And at those events, we had over 200 people vaccinated. In addition to being able to capture 100 interviews that will be involved with the Department of Health community health assessment, just gaining the feedback of what our community members are saying and how we were able, once again, to come together. And so we have a team of awesome students. And so I would love if you all could give them a hand because they are very shy, but they are very awesome. And last week alone, they pitched to United Way methods and ways of increasing our outreach and targeting those undeserved communities, and they actually won $3,500 to increase the outreach that we're doing in the community. So let's give them a hand for that. And so thank you again. We were at a number of different events with the city, including Ms. Paula Reed when they did their vaccination at Midtown Culture Center, Councilwoman Henry at the YSG Center. And so we just thank you for the opportunity. We just want to continue to serve our community, especially as we spread the word of treatment. Not only do we have a vaccination, but there are treatment options for COVID-19. And so, just spreading that information and that knowledge so people can make the best decisions to keep themselves and their families safe. That is our goal. Thank you. I'm going to see if the students want to say anything. Anybody?
Come to the mic.
We want to thank everyone for believing in our initiative and following us along through this journey because, like she said, the pandemic has affected a lot of us in many different ways. So for us to be able to help the community in the ways that we have is it's special to each and every one of us. So thank you once again for following us on this journey and believing in us.
So what we have is a recognition in addition to the certificate. There is a gift card for each of the participants, and we want to express our gratitude for what you have done. Brianna Thompson, junior, biology major. Thank you. Kimbriana Newsom, junior, criminal justice major. Byronique Bastian, junior, biochemistry major. Thank you. George Butts, senior, computer science major. Absolutely.
I will give him his card.
Isis Bowie, sophomore biology major. Lauren Robles, senior mass communication major. And we also want to express our appreciation to the administrative team, Dr. Sherma Butts, faculty coordinator, Department of Natural Sciences. Ms. Ida Wright, associate director, Department of Health. Thank you. Dr. Danielle Wilson Howard, founder and director of the Pandemic Win Initiative and faculty member in the Department of Natural Science. Thank you to each of you, and thank you to the staff person who put those in perfect order. That was sweet. Thank you.
Picture, turn around.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
In the front row so they have room. I think they've been talking about that, yeah.
No, the tiny houses.
Okay, now we're going to move on to item C, 6C, which is our final presentation, is a presentation on the Cornerstone Tiny Homes. This is a presentation to the City Commission on the small footprint homes that would provide affordable housing ownership. And Ms. Kim Hilterbrand to report. And Kim, I did print out a copy of your PowerPoint for everybody. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Not that, but I would go ahead and pass. Just, give me 4 of them. You can go ahead.
Yes, I should have preference. Whoops. There we go.
So I just wanted to thank everyone for having me here today. Just wanted to say that we offer a different type of home that is affordable, and so wanted to present that to you here today. It's really an interesting fact that 63% of all homes in the United States are occupied by 1 or 2 people. So, and that's changed from 1960, it started out at 40%. And so over the years, our household sizes have changed. And so, but our housing sizes haven't. They've just gone up. So the bigger the houses get, the least affordable they are. Fewer people can afford them. So I did a little research on Daytona Beaches in particular. Average rent in Daytona Beach is $1,345 a month. So using the average Daytona Beach household income of $33,000 a year, that means that they can afford $845 a month in rent. Well, that's a long ways away from the $1,345 that we have here. And then for home ownership, it's even a bigger spread. Average homes in Daytona, we know, are high. Using that same $33,000 a year annual salary and computing the monthly payment that they can afford is $875 for the couple, but that is also $200,000 house there's not that many $200,000 houses available in your area. And so if they are available, they're likely going to be a condo or a manufactured home where you're also going to be paying big condo fees as well as the lot rents. So they also become affordable. It's really hard to get a mortgage on both of those type of properties too. So it's not an affordable situation in the normal circumstances. So we'd like to introduce another thought, a small footprint Florida Building Code compliant home. This home it's so important to remember that it's Florida Building Code compliant. It is not a manufactured home. They are two different building codes. Florida Building Code compliant means that we have gone through the process with the state. We are licensed with the state to build them. We are inspected before it leaves our facility, and it leaves our facility completely inspected and monitored. There's a lot of different ways that you might integrate this type of home into the community. The one on the bottom left here in that photo, that's in Oviedo, Florida. There's 27 lots that we have over there that we're building on. We've got 5 installed. We've got quite a line of people to buy. And then on the top left there, that is a conceptual plan that we had planned in the city of Longwood. Unfortunately, that project didn't go through, but it is the type of community that we would like to see in our community. That's where we are. We're located in Longwood, Florida. So then I had to include the top right one just because it's a cute little house. I had to put that one in there too with the pink door. So we were really honored to participate in November 4th. They had an affordable housing workshop at the Allen Chapel AME Church. Pastor Magola, Commissioner May, and Lucy Desmore. There were hundreds of people that toured our home that day. We had a really good turnout. We had really positive feedback. We are still getting calls from Daytona Beach residents that want to find out where they can put one of our houses on a lot in Daytona. I think we all know that the home ownership versus renting, the benefits of that. It's stronger community. It's a better health and lifestyle that they can afford. I think probably what empowers people too is the increase in their net worth. They're able to have some equity in a home rather than trying to make rent every month. And so it just makes sense to have home ownership opportunities for more. I want to stress that these houses are small and affordable, but they're just like a normal house. They have drywall walls. They have quartz countertops if you want to pay for that. They have full-size appliances, full-size furnishings. There's just not much of it in the houses. So it's nothing, there are no lofts. I think that it's important to say that. A lot of people think of a tiny home and they think, oh, they're going to sleep in a loft, but that's not true. That's not Florida Building Code compliant, so we're not able to use lofts in these. We go through a lot of process to get one of our plans approved through the state, and we're monitored by the state. Our plan is sent to an engineer who signs off on it and seals it. It is sent to a third-party engineer who then also has to review it and then passes it. And then the last review is at the state level. Plans examiners go through our plans. They are all then approved, and we're allowed to build that. Most building departments really love us because what happens is our units leave the manufacturing facility completely inspected. There are very few site inspections required for these houses. The unit itself is already inspected, so normally there are about 4 to 5 different inspections to get it through to a certificate of occupancy in any municipality. Daytona Beach would not be the first place that allows these small footprint homes. We've got many communities across the state. There are also opportunities to use them as an accessory dwelling unit. There's many areas that have no minimum square footage requirement. Right now, that is what's preventing us from bringing them to Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach has a minimum square footage requirement of 900 square feet, and so our units are between 360 and 432. But again, they are Florida Building Code compliant. So in talking about that, if you were to, in Daytona Beach, eliminate or just greatly reduce the minimum square footage requirement, you could also, if you think about it, you guys have a lot of infill lots that are available. And so if you, a typical lot is proportionate to a house size. So it could be possible that some of your infill lots could be utilized maybe 2 different units. All of a sudden you have 2 affordable houses instead of 1 per lot. And, you know, there's always the question of impact fees, sewer and water connection fees, permitting fees. Those are all fees that I know that the city and county have to have in order to install a new home in their area. But I do, you know, I don't know if there's any perhaps grant money available or something to that effect that could help us to help you to bring some more affordable housing. Our houses run between $95,000 to $110,000 installed, and that's without the lot. So, you know, when you're adding, and we've never pulled a permit in the city of Daytona, but I'm just guessing by Volusia counties that they're in the neighborhood of $20,000. So, you know, the fees alone on top of the lot costs, all of a sudden an affordable house becomes not so affordable anymore. So we would love to bring that example here. I think some of the city officials got to tour our house whenever it was here. It does look like a typical house, and it is under the scrutiny of the state. So any questions? Happy to answer.
I think for us, if we were to start off with a small footprint home, and not necessarily even your company, right? I mean, it's open to anybody who has an interest in this. What would the square footage look like exactly? Like, what do you think would be reasonable? What are people doing right now for square footage?
Well, you know, across the state, it's so different. You know, it's surprising how many cities and counties have 0 minimum square footage requirement. The city of Oviedo is one, you know. But I would say an average across the state would probably be 400 square feet. That's typically a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. That's about the size that they are. Yeah.
And then roughly how long does it take to start a project like this? You've done this before in other places. You've seen it develop. From the time, if we were to consider adjusting zoning, et cetera, how long would it take us to actually see something happen from this, do you think?
Well, we've gone through land planning committees in other cities and counties. And so once it goes through the land planning process, I don't know what Daytona Beach's is, but let's just say that happened today. The recommendation came through. There's usually 2 to 3 readings before it becomes a ordinance or it's passed. So I don't know. Do you have monthly meetings?
No, I just mean in terms of the, from the time, if we were to say, yes, we love this, how long would it take for something to happen? A home to be built, 6 weeks, 5 weeks? How long?
Yeah, so our current production, we're about 3 to 4 months. Normally, it takes us longer to get through the permitting process than it does to build them. So, yeah.
And then from your experience, with regard to impact fees, how much a reduction do you think?
I'm sorry.
How much of a reduction for impact fees do you think could make? 'Cause, I mean, it's a smaller home, all right?
So my opinion is these homes are, you know, one of the biggest parts of impact fees are schools. And obviously, we're not going to have a lot of children in these homes. So if you could open the conversation with Volusia County Schools to perhaps reduce their impact fees for this particular type of house or a square footage, base it on a square footage, I think that would be helpful. And then the impact itself, I would say it would be less than half of a typical house. You know, normally in different areas, and again, we have not pulled permits in Daytona Beach, but I'm assuming they're $20,000. I can't imagine that, that can be a 6-bedroom house that's $20,000, and we would be paying the same impact fee for that. So if there is some way that affordable housing, grants could be applied toward that to help with that, I don't know.
And then also, how is the communities that you've researched, how have they taken to a development of smaller footprint homes versus putting a smaller footprint home in an infill lot where the surrounding homes might be bigger? Like, how is the different communities, have they reacted to that?
So the first city in the state of Florida that passed an ordinance was only for a community-based small footprint home. That's the city of Rockledge. It's hard to get a community plan, and again, it's the financing. So Rockledge passed it probably 4 years ago now, and to find a piece of property that's affordable, and then to put all the infrastructure in, pay all of the impact fees, all of a sudden, again, our house that was affordable becomes unaffordable. So the cities and counties that have passed ordinances, typically it is in a community type of situation. It might be a 3-acre plot, could probably hold 20 houses. I think that's a nice size community to start with.
Really?
Yeah.
3 acres, 20 homes.
Yep. And so, if you think about it, the lot size proportionate to the house is 432 square feet. A lot of times, a lot can be 1,500 square feet. It could be 2,000 square feet. And that's totally up to planning too. What is it that you would like to see? We have many different examples of, different communities and types of communities that could give you some ideas.
Okay.
Does it matter where, given the economic condition of the folks who would live in these homes, does it matter where they are as it relates to proximity to services? Is it better that they be done, in the core of a city, or is it reasonable that they might be considered in our community in a place like West Daytona, which is the portion of our community is sort of sprawling?
I can say that our biggest customer base are single women. They don't want to take care of a big house. Usually they drive a car. They have to qualify for a mortgage. So 9 times out of 10, they have a car. I don't know that, I think it's the opportunity to be able to own a home instead of renting. That seems to be what is their drive, is to have home ownership. When you're in that rental cycle, you're always at the mercy of someone raising your rent, or a lot rent in the case of a manufactured home, or even a condo association, or, assessments from that. So I think they feel very vulnerable, and this is a way for them to own their own home.
So it wouldn't matter whether it was in the core of the city or if it was in the part of the city that's sort of sprawling?
Not typically.
Not typically.
No, not our typical customer, no.
So for us, the challenge is, where do we find, you said what, 20 acres or 3 acres?
3 acres, 4 acres, yeah.
And I know we've talked about this and, okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? No? I
do.
have, yes, I have support.
If you can put 20 houses on 3 acres and each house has a car, is there going to be room there for parking for a car for each of those tiny houses on that 3 acres?
Right. So, and I know you didn't get the full site plan on the one that I had up here earlier. I didn't have a picture of that, but that one was 1.5 acres We have 15 houses on it, and we had a common area to park in. So, you know, an acre and a half, that's not too far of a walk with a common area to park. If ordinances made it to where it needed to have a driveway next to the houses, of course, you know, that would have to be taken into account with the planning.
So I know that in some areas, in Orlando, actually, what I've noticed is they'll build a parking garage for the express reason of having the surrounding apartment buildings park there and then go to the various apartments. So a common parking area seems to be the way people are going.
Yeah.
Do we in fact have an interest in this, or do we have an interest in this at all, pursuing us? For me, it's just a matter of adjusting the zoning, because I think that's the starting point, correct? Adjusting the zoning to even
Yes.
begin to consider this, because the degree of the amount of square footage will impact the number of units that we could actually put on a particular acre, 2 or 3. I guess the question is, do we have an interest in adjusting our current zoning from 900 square feet to less than that to accommodate affordable housing?
Making homeowners out of renters, that I think is the big win for the community as well as the citizens, honestly.
Yeah. I think that's an important part of affordable housing.
Right.
And the whole process. But your question is, do we have an interest in it? I think we have an interest, but this is not an easy prescription in a community, because communities fall apart over this. And I think we all know that. They just fight over this. This is something that people will bring their axes to City Hall over. But it doesn't mean that it's not something that, you know, we shouldn't have the will to do if we believe it's a part of the prescription for the problem. And that we have a problem with affordable housing. But I also think that it's more than just affordable housing. It's also just reasonable housing if you say there's a market for it. And if the market demands this, then how do we make ourselves available to allow this to be successful? You know, and I don't know if the market in this community says, but you say that people from that workshop have called and there's an interest in it. So, you know, for me, I know that this is something that you've been talking about. I know that Commissioner Henry initially brought it before us as an item of thought. And I could give, this is my thought. 3 acres doesn't seem like a lot. But the question is, what's the location? You know, what is the location? And so I'm agreeable to say to city staff, see if you could find a location that we could discuss and debate. And, you know, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not afraid to confront that with the community in some space. If you can find 2 or 3, and then we have a choice. And to the people who live in my community, you know, if you guys can find a space out off LPGA, I think that's a nice place for it. You know, I live out that way, and, you know, there's a lot of people who live out there. They might not like that. Right?
Mr. Mayor, so previously when I brought this to the commission, previous city manager and I had quite a few conversations about it in our secret meetings. And he was explaining to me that just as you're saying that where these houses go has to be very specific.
It does.
So he had suggested the property out west, like you had said, because certain size home can't go next to a certain size home. And that's where you're going to find the people are going to have an issue. Now, if you take a community like this and you put it in an area that it's going to be just this size home, then I don't think you're going to get as much pushback from, say, a person in a regular size home. So that's one thing that we absolutely can consider with that is just making sure that it is a community that stands alone, and I think we'll get far less pushback. My concern is definitely, I think we should have a workshop regarding this because I just don't know that even at $120,000, if that's feasible. So definitely, I would say before I would consider supporting this, I would like to have a workshop. This has been the forefront of what we've been trying to do for years. It definitely has been a push for me for years, has been affordable housing. So I think it's worth a workshop. I don't know that I would support something and then get people into $120,000 because I start thinking about what my mortgage looks like, and some other people can start thinking about maybe what their mortgage looks like, and you're thinking that, I don't know. That's just where I am right now.
Well, when you think about what's being done with Homes Bring Hope, but that's a specific program, but it's not that far from this price line. Even though but this is the type of thing that if you found a location, you might be able to do more with an immediate bang. So if you found a location of 10 acres, you might be able to get a community of 100 such homes.
Right.
So I agree that it's not something that we can decide on tonight, but I do think that it's something that the staff should look at, find some locations and bring all the price lines and the possibility of us buying the city possibly buying the land, using even things like, and I know I'm talking a lot, but even using things like ARCA funds, find a way to, but we have to have a detailed discussion about it, but you guys have to do the work based on those sorts of thoughts. But at the end of the day, we can always say no, but you have to go down a road to determine whether you want to do it.
And so again, for me, I'm always about the starting point, right? I appreciate the fact that we're doing the workshop. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and thank you so much for that. But what is the square footage? I mean, that's going to be part of the conversation, right? Because we're still at 900. So is that something that the staff would look at and say, what would be the correct square footage as a minimum square footage for the particular development? Because that's kind of up in the air. Right now, square footage is 900. So are we adjusting it? What are we talking about?
In order to do it, you could, and rescue me if I'm wrong, but you could have a community and it would be isolated to that community. And that's all you want to do, and that's nothing more than that.
That for me is a starting point because we started at 900 square feet, so that is a fantastic starting point. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned I don't want to call it the failure, but it didn't come to fruition in Longwood. Would you be willing to share with us what happened there?
I sure will. So that was a beautiful property on a small lake. There's a historic house on the property that we were leaving as kind of like a clubhouse, meeting place, guest house. If, someone in the community had overnight guests, they would have bedrooms there. We just thought it was an ideal situation. What really ended up happening was the sewer system that is in Longwood, they had an ordinance that no more septic systems were going to be allowed in the city limits. And so this particular property couldn't hook into the sewer system with that many properties. We could not add that many houses. And so the argument was that these are one-bedroom houses. They're not three-bedroom, two-bath houses, but the capacity was not there in the sewer system that they had just put in. So, yeah, and that's a good point. There's a lot of different things that happen during the development process. I don't think we've ever pushed through as far as the square footage has been the easy part, right? That's been the easy one. It's always typical developmental issues that come up with any development.
So it was development issues, not excuse me, NIMBY, not in my backyard kind of stuff. No, there were no pushback for that.
No, and you know, as a matter of fact, these are the shows kind of hurt us and help us. The tiny home shows that everybody sees, normally those are not code compliant. They're built on wheels. Somebody built them in the backyard. That's the view people have of tiny homes, and that is not what we build at all. Right. And so once they're educated and they realize that we've gone through all this scrutiny, that it does pass Florida building code, they don't have any problem with it. And it becomes kind of a badge of honor, actually. Rockledge is very proud that they passed the first ordinance to allow this community to come in. And they're very disappointed that the dollars and cents of things has never worked out to have a development there yet. So it is kind of that kitschy thing that people really do desire. They're adorable when they're on the ground, you know. Oviedo, that is going to be a really, that is a transitioning neighborhood. They had houses from the 1920s in there, mixed in with a few duplexes and a couple of single-family houses, new and old. Some people would take 2 and 3 lots and build a great big house. It was just kind of a mixture. And so now we're going over there in all of these empty lots, and it really has turned that community around. It really has, yeah.
Okay. And the Nexus study that we have been patiently waiting on will be ready probably in 2 months. Staff is saying 2 months. And I think that will, help us in a workshop on this topic. And so hopefully once that comes, then we can add that to our, what I hope will be a major affordable housing initiative from this community, and that we will be able to push forward with, and that we can include this as a part of it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you all
Thank you so much for listening to the presentation and supporting it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, that was our final presentation, so we'll move on to item number 7. This is public comments by people addressing the City Commission. During this time, citizens have the opportunity to address the City Commission on any item on the consent agenda. Our first speaker is Heidi Heller, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Hi there. I'm Heidi Heller of 460 Ridgewood Avenue in Holly Hill. I'd like to say thank you very much for allowing me to share some thoughts I have today. And I'd also like to thank everyone for the diversity that they have here in their special interest, whether it be housing or healthcare or veterans. Collectively, you all get the job done. And so my specialty, or not specialty, what I tend to look at is little details. And I'm interested in 8G, which is about the Daytona Express Track and Field Club. There are a lot of members here that are donating money to. I researched Daytona Express Track, and on Facebook I found it to say that they were a nonprofit organization. So I verified it on the state site for state of Florida and the Division of Corporations. They're not listed. I went to the IRS.gov site. They're not listed there either. Another, which I would think that in order to be a nonprofit, you have to be legally listed someplace. On their Facebook site, they also say that there's a web address. Facebook couldn't find it when I clicked into it. I placed it in my own URL. It didn't come up. I went to ICANN, which is the world organizer of internet numbers and names and categories. I couldn't find it either. So I'm wondering if somebody could tell me the exact location and a legal site for the nonprofit where it's listed. I cannot find it. Thank you.
Where do you live? What did you say your address was?
My address in Holly Hill?
And what's your concern with because our staff always verifies nonprofits. They don't just send money out.
Well, I couldn't find where the
Nonprofits. Aren't nonprofits verified?
Yeah, they usually have paperwork and things, and we've been donating to them for a long time. I
Yeah,
don't
we've
know
been
off the top of
donating
my
to
head
them
what
for
the-
many years.
But I don't,
And we're going to be supporting the children. And they do a good job of verifying any nonprofits that we send to.
Can somebody tell me where that is? Because I could not find it on the IRS government site. I couldn't find it on the state of Florida site. And so you don't want to tell me where your nonprofit is?
I don't have it, but I guess you can, go to, do a public records, you can go
Yeah,
in
you
and
can do
see
a
the
public record.
staff.
Public records request?
I don't, this is not something I want to debate with you.
Sure, sure.
I don't
All right, I'll just
have
do a
anything
public
to say.
records
Yeah,
request.
just do it.
That's
and
perfect.
Do whatever you have to do with that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Frederick Brown. And I'm sorry, ma'am, if you can, Jennifer, if you go ask her to provide her contact information so we can contact her with a request.
John Nixon, 413 North Grandview. Items D, E, and F. Usually Letitia's nice about calling those out. On D, it's the lighting on A1A. I understand it's street lights, but on A1A, we still are waiting to finish the 1990 work that was started on the A1A streetscape. There's still 8 light poles at University and A1A that have still not been replaced. There are also numerous poles that were put in the early 2000s. There are about half a dozen of them that are missing. The light poles were replaced the lamp shades about 6 months ago. There's still a number of them at Seabreeze, Main Street, by the Hilton. So it's awkward to have several different areas or eons of construction that you don't finish one before you get into the next one. So I'm asking you to go down A1A, our corridor and the CRA, to make sure that everything matches. Secondly, on the pressure cleaning, I thought we bought a pressure machine and hired 2 staff members. So now we're going to double what these people are doing as well. So could we have some clarification? Because I thought we bought a machine and hired staff. And if it's this company that did the bridge, the Seabreeze Bridge, it's terrible. If you take across the Seabreeze Bridge, it looks like a spotted giraffe or something. It is just splotchy all over. Third, the radios. I'm assuming this is matching the county and the all the other systems in the county that we're catching up to what they're doing. But my problem with that is the water and sewer again. We constantly borrow from the water and sewer, and then when we need the money to do things from the water and the sewer, the money's not there. So we always plan on returning these funds, but we never do. So I just don't want to again end up being short in the water and sewer. Thank you.
And our next speaker is Frederick Brown.
Good evening, Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. There's 2 items in the consent agenda that I'd like to speak on. I wanted to talk about the item 8A, which once again, we're paying a non-itemized settlement. And I do wish the city would certainly adopt a requirement to include itemization of how this money is being allocated. How much does the litigant get? How much does the attorney get? Et cetera. I think that's important for people to understand. In today's world of excessive litigation, the fact that the city has to use our funds for things like this, I think it's important for the citizens to know exactly where that money's going, that it's not just hooked up into one total, and nobody knows where the money goes. The other item I'd like to talk about is also item 8C. And I know the gist of this is to try and improve the area in there for the lighting. But one of the things I've spoken on here numerous times is the importance for pedestrian safety. Again, I've asked numerous times if we could get a workshop going where we could upgrade our requirements for the pedestrian safety. As you know, the city lives on a lot of the tourism dollars. It doesn't look very good when we keep killing our tourists by running them over. I've been a big advocate of the in-roadway lights, and I would like to see that included at a lot of these intersections. Now, I realize this bill is this approval is primarily for lighting, and it says all work must be completed by March 31st, and I hope we're geared to do that, or else you don't get paid in reading the official state requirements. What I'd like to see is, and as Mr. Nicholson pointed out, we have some unfinished projects out there, things that have kind of fallen apart as well. And it would be nice to see some unity where it all comes together, looks together, and we have the same kind of standard for pedestrian safety. It's obvious that the one crosswalk bridge on A1A, which you have to go up essentially 2 flights of stairs, there's no automated other than extremely slow elevator for especially as senior citizens, people won't use it. They just run across the street. That's how people are going to get hurt. I think we need a more in-depth plan on road safety. And of course, obviously, you can see the funds are there from the Florida State DOT. I don't take what they plan as total gospel. There are things in this country that work. And unfortunately, a lot of them aren't in the existing plan. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I've heard him say that a few times. When we write a check, the city writes it to the attorney. That attorney's client has a contract, and they negotiate who is getting what. Am I correct?
Partly. Attorney's fees are capped by statute to 25% in these contingency type of cases, so the attorney can't get more than that by law.
Right.
And as part of the settlement, they have to pay their doctors. Those costs are negotiated down. So there are a lot of factors which go into
but
the
we
settlement.
don't decide.
We're not involved in
Correct.
negotiating down those medical bills.
Right.
That's something done by the plaintiff. So it's really hard for us to itemize how that money will be allocated within their lawsuit.
Right, because sometimes that lawyer will make a settlement with their client saying, oh, I'll take less money, you had more medical bills, or, we don't have the contract.
Right. Well, for instance, in this case, we settled for less than the medical bills, so that gives you some idea of how that goes down.
Thank you.
And that was my final speaker for the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed. We'll take a second from Commissioner Henry. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are in opposition, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, now move on to item number 9, which is our public hearings. Item 9A is the Police Department Ordinance amending City Code, Chapter 110, Wrecker Services, Acceptable Methods of Payment. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending Chapter 110 of the City Code of Ordinances relating to wrecker services, adding new sections to Chapter 110 to provide procedures and standards regarding return of towed vehicles to owners or authorized representatives, and acceptable methods of payment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
I've got a lot of moves on that one. I'm going to say Commissioner Reed, and I'll give Commissioner Cantu the second.
And I have no one signed up to speak on this item.
Okay, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, staff, for getting this done. I think it's very responsive to what our community needs. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 9B, it's the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division. excuse me, places of worship, distance separation. This is an ordinance on second reading, public hearing. An ordinance amending Land Development Code, Article 5, Section 5.2.b.13.e to revise specific standards applicable to places of worship, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Traeger.
And I have no one signed up to speak for this item, Mr. Mayor.
There are no questions. We'll take a vote. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to 9C, it's the Development and Administrative Services Planning Division. First Amendment to 900 North Plan Development General PDG rezoning. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance approving the First Amendment to 900 North Plan District Agreement to revise conditions applicable to the satellite parking facility located at the southwest corner of Jessamine Boulevard and North Atlantic Avenue intersection, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Second.
We'll take a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Reed.
And I do have Mr. Rob Merrill on behalf of the applicant for any questions.
Okay. No questions. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item 9D, it's City Manager's Office Redevelopment Division, First Amendment to the Beaches ISB Plan Development Redevelopment. This is an ordinance on second reading, quasi-judicial hearing. An ordinance approving the First Amendment to Beaches ISB Plan District Agreement to allow electronic message center signs on property located at 301 East International Speedway Boulevard, subject to conditions, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the First Amendment, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Take a motion from Commissioner Traeger and Commissioner Cantu, and a second from Commissioner Traeger.
Okay. I believe it's Mr. Rob Merrill. Here, he didn't sign it. He didn't print his name, but he signed. Here on behalf of the applicant for any questions, and then I do have 2 additional speakers.
All right, we'll hear from the speakers at this time.
Okay, our first
Yes.
speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granby Avenue. In the 80s, we had a problem with the neon signs all over town and the little individual bulbs with their chasers. The lights would go out and they wouldn't be repaired and they looked terrible. So we passed an ordinance to prevent that kind of lighting. Then we ended up with the LED lights. They were chasers. It's just long block, and the lights would send a message, and it would just whip around. And people couldn't read it fast enough, so we passed an ordinance against LED lighting. Well, from that point on, there are people that don't like LED lighting. They don't like a lot of what's going on I guess it's called University Drive in Orlando, with all the flashing, almost Las Vegas-style lighting. This is not any of that. And I think it behooves us, because somebody stopped me on the beach one time and said, "Do you know something? They want to put in LED lighting and we don't allow it." Well, now we're starting to allow it, and it is the norm. LED is the norm, and this is what I think we should do for the future. It is very inexpensive, relatively, for a business to put their name on their business in LED lighting. From what I understand at the planning meeting, this gentleman does not want a movable sign to advertise that keeps changing all the time. So if he's doing what he asked, and somebody else asked me to see if it could be put in writing, whether it's in writing or not, I think it is, but if it isn't, I suggest that we do, that he does not advertise for Coca-Cola, doesn't advertise for events, doesn't advertise for wet T-shirt contests, or whatever they're afraid of, that we put it in writing that that's not what he's going to do. I understand that he might sell the building in the future, and it opens the door for somebody else to not have his commitment. He's committed to not doing this stuff. But I'm hoping we put it in the writing so that people out there that are worried about this would not be worried about it. This is simply a sign, and I hope it's the future, because it really does enhance a building when you see the LED lights for the name of the building. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Frederick Brown.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crest Ridge, Daytona Beach. I too have some concerns about this type of signage. I know one of my favorite restaurants that's been there for well over a half century is kind of a victim of this development. But, over the years, they weren't allowed to put their sign back up after the storm. They were never given permission through the city for fixing the sign. But yet now we have a development going. Granted, it's nice looking. I get that. We're stepping forward. Well, my biggest concern with allowing this, along with Mr. Nickerson, is that, we don't have a locked-in agreement that, this isn't advertisements for whatever. And all it takes is the right lawyer submitting the right proposal at the right time when nobody's looking, and it blows through the city commission and the next thing you know, all of a sudden we got all these kind of signs going. Well, my biggest concern with this of all is that, we have all these low sign ordinances, which has its own problems, which again, this is where I asked for a workshop on pedestrian safety. These signs get in the way of people when they're driving. But now we're putting signs up on the second story of the building on the busiest street going into Beachside. And, it's hard with people on their cell phones, looking out the window and everything else that they do. And then they have a bunch of lighted signs coming in there. They'll be reading the signs instead of watching traffic. I know you've all seen the commercials on TV, what happens when you have the distracted driving and you slam into the vehicle in front of it. Maybe this is good business for personal injury attorneys, I don't know, but I think it's bad to have traffic distractions on one of the busiest areas. Now, I am a big fan of LED lighting and signs and all this stuff, but there's a right place for it. I just don't agree that on the second floor of this building, on a very busy intersection, where it's actually a very complicated intersection considering the offsets of with Peninsula and Halifax in there. So it can get pretty tricky driving through it. I know I had to drive through there every day while we waited on the bridge for several years. So again, I just feel that it's going to contribute to distracted driving in this. I think there are ways, and it would be nice if the city had signs to promote some of the events, but again, I think there's a right place for that, and I don't think this is it. So I do like some of the new designs. I think it's going to add to the unifying the neighborhood in a much more modern fashion. So I'm in favor of that, but I just don't think, lighting signage. The other problem, and I wish the city would also consider on anybody with LED signs, is that they have a day-night light intensity. So if you do approve this, which I'm sure you will because it's already been pushed by the appropriate attorneys, that the amount of light be reduced in the evening. Because if you look at some of these signs in the evening, they're very bright and very blinding, and they can affect your driving. Tell you that facts. Thank you.
I find it humorous that you would say it's pushed by the appropriate attorney as opposed to a developer or a guy who's taken a parcel that we've looked at for 30 years and wanted it to be improved. And that's more along the lines of why, whether you agree with that or not. But nonetheless, I want to slow this down.
Your code, by the way, would not allow off-site advertising.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have Rob Merrill here for any questions.
Okay. We have no questions. We have any other comments from the commission? Any other concerns? All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item 9E was pulled from our agenda. So we're going to move on to item 9F, which is the Public Works Technical Services Division preliminary and final plat and contract for plat recording for Legends Preserve Phase 1. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plat for Legends Preserve Phase 1, a single-family subdivision located on approximately 72.94 acres east of LPJ Boulevard and south of International Golf Drive, subject to conditions, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent, approving a contract for plat recording for the subdivision, and providing an effective date.
So move.
I want to say something, please. I would like to,
Go ahead.
I have to
but-
wait.
Well,
Do we have a
let us get a motion in a second. Do we just
Okay.
have one motion? Do I have anyone to second? I have a second?
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Henry is the second. Commissioner Cantu made the motion.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I would like to see this continued until after we have our development workshop for what we have going on in that area. Because we've talked about having a development workshop, we've talked about traffic, we've talked about infrastructure, we've talked about a lot of things and taken a good long look at it. And if anybody has an appetite for that, I would like to make a motion that we continue it, if I can get a second.
This is just a, go ahead.
Yeah, I need to step in here. So this is a preliminary and final plat approval. All the development approvals have already come through the commission through the PD application process. So whatever gets built there has already been determined. The plat approval is just merely to confirm that the subdivision of the property is consistent with your codes, and in this case, the PD approvals. So staff has determined that it is consistent, which makes your decision somewhat ministerial in confirming staff's recommendation for approval. So there's not a lot of discretion with regard to plat approvals. Your discretion is in your zoning.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other questions or comments?
That's him.
All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion
good.
carries 6-1. Did you have something? I'm sorry.
No,
He's
I
the
just,
the engineer on the project.
I was just
know-
here to
I know
answer
who it is.
questions, and when I heard the continuance, for the record, Parker Minchenberg, 1729 Ridgewood Avenue, when I heard the continuance, that's when I got up. So
Okay.
thank you, Robert, for that explanation.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 9G, it's the Public Works Technical Services Division, preliminary and final plat, contract for plat recording for Legends Preserve Phase 2. This is a resolution public hearing. A resolution approving the preliminary and final plats for Legends Preserve Phase 2, a single-family subdivision located on approximately 68.74 acres east of LPGA Boulevard and south of International Golf Drive, subject to conditions, authorizing the city manager to sign the final plat and permit recordation, thereupon meeting certain conditions precedent, approving a contract for plat recording for the subdivision, and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Henry.
I don't have any other speakers.
No other speakers. Commissioner Strickland, you have any comments concerning this?
My comments would be the same, and I've been instructed by the city attorney over there. It's really a moot point at this point.
No. Mr. Jagger, could you explain a permalate plat again?
I'm sorry?
Could you explain it again?
Well,
Please.
the reason you have a plat recorded is so you can subdivide the land. And the decision here, the decision for you to make is whether or not the subdivision or the platting is consistent with your city code. So you've already adopted all of the regulations with regard to development through the PD process. So that's your standard, if you will, for approval today, is whether or not it's consistent with your formally adopted regulations.
And so I guess the reason she says, would you say it again? We want to make sure that we're voting on the item as it is, for what it really is, as opposed to something else. Okay. I think that's why you asked for that.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And
All right.
staff has already reviewed the item and made a determination that the plat is consistent with your zoning regulations. So your decision is really just to confirm or deny their determination.
Yeah, okay. All right. Although we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-1. Thank you.
Okay, moving on now to item number 10. This is our administrative items. Item number 10A is the Development and Administrative Services, Cultural Services Department Bike Week 2022 Master Plan Public Plan Resolution. A resolution relating to Bike Week 2022, providing for motorcycle-only traffic and parking in various locations, suspending parking regulations in commercial areas, regulations in the commercial areas of the controlled parking district from March 4th through March 13th, 2022, in accordance with Section 218D of the City Code, authorizing the city to operate paid parking lots at various locations in the Main Street area, authorizing various activities on the public property, and providing an effective date.
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cantu and a second from Commissioner Henry.
I do have a public speaker on this item. It's Mr. John Nicholson.
John Nixon, 413 North Grandview Avenue. My same objections each and every year is it was created to help Main Street be attractive, be maintained, and help them pay their taxes. It is, if you're giving them thousands, if not millions of dollars in waivers so that they can make this money, the graffiti should not be on their buildings. The trash and garbage in the streets and the alleyways and behind their buildings shouldn't be there. Broken windows should not be there. So again, I don't have a problem with any of this except if they're getting benefit from the city, we did it to help them, but the object was that they maintain their buildings. If they're not maintaining their buildings, and there are two buildings that are not, then we should be diligent that they maintain their buildings. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was my only speaker for this item.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item 10B. It's the Development and Administrative Services Department, Second Avenue Merchants Temporary Outside Activities Resolution. A resolution allowing temporary outside activities for property located at 560 Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard during Bike Week 2022, establishing conditions, providing for violations and enforcement, and providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Henry. And we have no speakers? Oh, of course not.
I don't have any
Okay,
speakers.
yeah. All right, all those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to jump around a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to 10G, and then we'll come back to the other items. 10D is Development and Administrative Services Bike Week 2022, temporary parking on private property. This is a resolution amending the Bike Week 2022 master plan for outside activities on private property, authorizing to include applications for temporary parking at 201 North Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and 344 Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard, and providing an effective date. I hope that was.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Cantu. You have no questions?
I think.
Commissioner Traeger?
Is it this one?
Yes, it's this one.
Okay.
Commissioner Traeger, you need to announce your conflict and the nature of your
I
conflict.
have a conflict because I'm part owner of one of the properties involved. So I will be abstaining, but thank you.
And she did provide me with a Form 8B.
Okay. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, the same sign. This motion passes 7-0. 6, sorry.
I have speakers.
Oh, you had speakers?
Yes.
Well, we have to take that back.
Yeah.
That
I'm so sorry.
motion does not carry 6-0. We have to rescind that vote, and we will maintain the motion,
think-
but we have public speakers.
I think these are the items that they wanted to speak on. It's William Bitteroff and Linda Crafton. I think it's a little confusing with all the items added. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Linda Crafton. I'm here tonight representing my church, which is located in the Midtown redevelopment area at 201 North Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Elder Fuller is my pastor. I'm here tonight asking for approval for our application to park RV trailers during Bike Week. Our application was late because we misunderstood the process and the deadline date. We have since spoken to Mr. James Morris and Ms. Rose Askew, who has given us the correct procedures and process in order to get our application in a timely fashion. We did receive a permit last year to park 14 RV trailers, but we applied through the health department, and we now know that that is not the correct procedure, and it will not happen again. The funds that we receive from the Bike Week parking pays our church bills for many months. Our congregation is not fully returned back because of the COVID. So we are asking you tonight to please approve our application for Bike Week parking this year. Thank you.
I think they already have a response, Ms. Crafton. How's your grandbaby doing?
She's wonderful, thank you.
Mayor and Commission, I'm Jim Morris. Ms. Crafton and I have spoken. They're in good shape. They're all square with us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bitteroff, did you want to speak on this item? Okay. And then I had a Linda Jordan fill out a form. I didn't know if she wanted to speak
She's
on this
probably the
particular
same
item. Okay.
It's my first time in
It's okay.
But I want to say something about our church. We're on Martin Luther King Boulevard, 221. I'm one of the younger group. All the pioneers have died out, so I'm still carrying the church on. But the issue that I have is that we don't mind doing what we have to do, but it's just like 3 of us in there that's carrying it on. So when the bikers come, they've been coming for years and years and years when my mother was carrying. So they are lawyers and doctors and police officers, old people, settled. So they kind of carry our ground. I appointed a captain so she can maintain. But what my issue is that when we have we pay our fee because I'm on the merchant side, because I didn't know about or how to carry out the other side for what you all said about a biker's permit, whatever that is. But anyway, I am saying that when they come, how come we have to pay? We pay our $300, but how come we have to pay for the portables and the sinks and all those things? And so that get kind of expensive for me because it's just 3 of us. So I'm just saying that it's the church property, non-denomination, whatever. But and those vehicles, those trailer things they own bathrooms and sinks and all of that. So I'm kind of a little, thrown off because I'm saying we're struggling trying to do it. Although they are good to the church because they leave a donation, I don't ask for money because I feel whatever your heart you're going to do for us, I'm opening up my grounds to you. So that's the part. They donate whatever. Some of them come in and do different things to help me out because they know I'm there because the old pioneers have died out. So I'm just asking this. What, because it's a non-denomination, and what can they do to help out also with the portables and the sinks and all of that? That's kind of a little hard for me there. Even though the bikers, they kind of help me out with that. But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to carry this church on because of the pioneers have laid it there. It's in I know how to talk, y'all. I'm a preacher. I'm not a business people. But I think I'm just saying to you what I'm trying to express to you. It's a little rough because when they come, they don't have anything really to do, or no amusement, no nothing. So I'm trying to figure out what else can we do to make them excited, because they do pour in the money now. But those people don't want to always go on 2nd Avenue to cook or nothing because they have those RVs. So I don't know. This is just my statement. What can happen?
Expired.
Thank you. I'm good. I'm going.
And Mr. Bitteroff, I see you out in the lobby. I didn't know if you wanted to speak on this item. Okay. He's not.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other speakers?
No, and I apologize to the mayor and the commission for that.
It's okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
It's 6-0.
6-0, we had it.
6-0.
And hard to remember.
With Traeger recusing.
Mr. Bidoff, we've already went on.
Sorry.
You okay? I'm okay. Okay. You okay? Everything good? All right.
Okay, so we're moving on to 10H, which is also a Bike Week item. This is Development and Administrative Services, Leisure Services Department Amendment to Bike Week 2022 Master Plan Private Property Resolution. A resolution amending the Bike Week 2022 Master Plan for outside activities on private property, authorizing to include applications for temporary parking at 201 North Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and 344 Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard, and providing an effective date.
We just did this one.
Is it the
Am I
same
mistaken?
resolution?
That's the Traeger resolution.
That's the Traeger resolution. I'm sorry, because we didn't get these resolutions till late, so I'm not sure. Can I see that? Thank you. Okay. So 10H is a resolution amending the approved Bike Week 2022 Private Property Master Plan adopted at the January 19, 2022 City Commission meeting to add additional properties fronting Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard between North Seagrave Street and North Ridgewood Avenue and Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, and to verify compliance for 800 Main Street, which is Froggy Saloon.
Okay.
So move.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Is this accurate? I haven't seen this resolution. It came in late. I didn't think we were voting on Froggies tonight.
Yeah, and we didn't get them till after 5 o'clock, so I'm not sure.
I thought Froggies was in compliance. It was approved with the last resolution.
It was. It was. If I might, Mayor and Commission, just a footnote. The late opportunity for people to come in created a lot of confusion, and Rose Askew literally has been working night and day, so we do apologize for the confusion as well, and it's not really Tish's fault at all. It's stuff's been going on right up to the last minute to try and get this stuff all done, and it is all done, but it is a little disorderly tonight, so, and we apologize for that.
So Froggies was approved at the last meeting, subject to compliance with
Subject to
code,
compliance,
which
but they
has
have
been
compliance
confirmed.
now, yes.
So they're good to go.
They're good to go.
They're good to go. No need to
No
vote
need
on
to
this.
vote
It's
on
already
this
been taken care of.
Okay, so this item doesn't need to be voted on?
Correct. That was voted on at the last meeting.
It was voted last time, subject to their compliance, which they've achieved.
Okay, and to verify the compliance?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's see.
I'm going to just stay here if you don't mind. I will. So,
Okay.
So this item that I have, 10I, this is, I believe, for Sun Chasers?
it should be Sun Chasers.
Okay, a resolution authorizing Sun Chasers at the Barrett's LLC
Yes.
to use the parking lot at Joe Harris Park from March 10th to the 12th of 2022 for motorcycle parking and vending of food, non-alcoholic beverages, and clothing, subject to conditions and providing an effective date.
Correct. If I might, for the Commission's permission, it is only the parking area, not the park itself. So it's the fenced area that you could normally park your cars in. They won't be in the park property, which they had initially asked for, but they agreed not to go in there once we had conversations about that.
That property.
sorry.
Isn't the surface of that property in poor repair?
No,
No.
it's a
Sorry.
parking, it's actually a parking area. It's a parking area that's used all the time.
It's the parking that's behind it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in decent shape.
The parking's,
Yeah, and the park's in fantastic shape.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
Just refinished. That's why they can't park there.
I have this one. Wait.
Did we get a motion?
We did not have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I already have that one.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, that was Reed and Cantu. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay.
There's it.
And then the last one I have for Bike Week is 10J, which is a resolution. This is for temporary outside activities. This is a resolution authorizing temporary event parking on various properties during Bike Week 2022 in accordance with Section 5.4.C.11 of the City Land Development Code, establishing conditions and providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner May and a second from Commissioner Reed. Do we have any questions? All right, have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Mayor Commission, thank you. And I will tell you, Ms. Askew has put in some hours and attention to this stuff. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, and thank you all for your hard work. We understand sometimes things don't go perfectly because of other folks also, but we appreciate you hanging in there and doing what you got to do.
Okay, so we're going to jump back. Now that we've done the bike week items, we're going to move back to item 10C. This is the City Manager's Office, Leisure Services Advisory Board appointment resolution. A resolution appointing one member to the Leisure Services Advisory Board for a term expiring December 31st, 2023, and providing an effective date. Ms. Betty Goodman to present.
Good evening. This agenda item is to appoint one member to the Leisure Services Advisory Board representing Zone 5. We received one application from Malcolm Williams. Commissioner Henry?
Motion to approve Malcolm Williams. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Henry and a second from Commissioner Reed.
I have no speaker for this item.
All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Moving on to 10D, the City Manager's Office, Peabody Auditorium Advisory Board appointment. This is a resolution appointing one member to the Peabody Auditorium Advisory Board for a term expiring December 31st, 2025, and providing an effective date.
This agenda item is to appoint one member to the Peabody Auditorium Advisory Board representing Zone 1. We have two applications, one from Suzanne Krittner and Christos Mavronis. Commissioner Traeger.
I would like to appoint Christos Mavronis.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion from Commissioner Traeger and a second from Commissioner May. All of those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, and this one, we're going to jump a little bit out of order as well. We're going to move on to 10F, which is the City Manager's Office Redevelopment Division Midtown Redevelopment Board member removal. This is a resolution removing Tertia Charles as a member of the Midtown Redevelopment Board and providing an effective date.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from
Commissioner May.
Commissioner May. Do we have any questions or comments? Reed?
It's kind of unusual. We usually get resignations from board members. This is just a case where we cannot reach the person. And so this is the only way we can actually create the opening for other board members to apply.
Wow. Haven't seen or heard from. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to jump back to 10E, which is City Manager's Office Midtown Redevelopment Board appointment. There's a resolution appointing 4 members to serve on the Midtown Redevelopment Board for a term expiring December 31st, 2023, and providing an effective date. Ms. Betty Goodman to present.
Okay, this has been changed to appointing 6 members to the Midtown Redevelopment Board. The board has 6 openings, and we have 6 applicants. The first one is ex officio, non-voting representative from the Planning Board, and that's Kathy Washington. Mr. Mayor, you want me to go through all 6 and do, okay. 2 reappointments, Tangela Brown Hardy and Antonelli Collins. 3 appointments, Pastor Nathan Magala, Davida Bonner, and Lynn Thompson. May we have a nomination?
So moved.
Go ahead.
Did you have something, Commissioner?
I was, but
She did the, and that's to appoint.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? No
a
second?
second. I'm sorry.
Okay. Motion from Commissioner Traeger and second from Commissioner Reed. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Okay, and for the record, the reason that we moved E and F is because we had to remove the person first before we could
Yeah.
have the
Vote
space
on.
open on 8E, and that was my final item on the agenda.
All right. We had a different kind of agenda. Okay, our first commissioner is Commissioner Traeger.
I have had a number of questions about this affordable housing, the short-term rental things. And we're going to have a workshop on it, I understand. So I think that will answer a lot of questions of both myself and probably other people of the community.
Well, you said on, what were your questions on?
Well,
Affordable housing or short?
No, I mean short-term rentals.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm afraid we might run against the Florida law, and I don't know if by extending it we would or not. That seems to be a gray area from a lot of people, and I'm so glad we didn't have to vote on it today, but I do think we need
not in a rush.
a workshop on it.
Yeah.
Because
Well, we're not in a rush, and we can have a workshop, but what I was going to propose is that while we've received legal opinion from our attorney, is that he would go out and get an opinion from someone who specializes in this type of litigation, like Gray and Robinson, and help us to craft an ordinance that they would help us to craft in a way that we feel would be plausible and legally defensible. But that would be something that I was going to come and talk with you in private about. We just want to make sure that we can do this
Exactly.
in a way that is successful and that does not jeopardize the rest of the community, which there's a great deal of fear rampant around the community that we would be opening ourselves up to something that we could not defend but most people do believe that there's a way for it to be done. I just want to back you up and give us a little more support because it's too big of a decision to run that risk. But I'll talk with you in private and then we'll come back to the commission and discuss it.
Very good.
Okay. Does that
about
make
affordable.
sense to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And also, you were talking about the Nexus study, and Mr. Fietcher said maybe 2 months. Is there possible at our next meeting you could give us a little a little bit of updates on it as it's coming along?
Yeah, I'll give the consultant, have Deputy City Manager Morris reach out to see if we can get where we are with the study, but that's what we just got from him about 2 months before it will be, the draft will be in our office. But we'll see if we can get some
Get
type
a
of
little
update.
updates or something. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Strickland?
Where do we get an update on where we stand with the river access? Things that's going on.
River access.
The river access, said you were going to,
Right. The direction at the last meeting from the commission was to pursue a declaratory action.
Okay.
From the court, I reviewed a draft complaint today, drafted by an assistant city attorney, made some suggestions. We're working on the final draft. We should be able to file that in the next couple weeks.
okay. And we're moving along with drafting something for the bar closings or earlier, correct?
We've got a draft from Mr. Morris that we've reviewed, and we're working with staff to bring that forward as well.
Okay.
Should be next meeting.
Okay.
Up to
Just
manager,
one
but
other
yes.
thing. Last meeting, we got longer stems over here, and they shrunk again. I have a resentment, but that's all.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
But it's come to my attention that there are 2 right-of-ways also on South Peninsula, and where pipes were put underneath. Maybe we could look at them if they would be maybe additional boat launching facility or kayak, something. And let's see, they are 2010 South Peninsula and 34 South Halifax.
Those are things that staff have been looking at.
Oh, they have?
I'm trying to determine if the commissioners want to go down that route or look at other avenues to have accessibility for the residents of Daytona
Appreciate
Beach.
that. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner May?
Can you hand that out for me, please? Can you hand that out? Thank you so much. So this week we had some disturbing and scary news that occurred in our community with regard to the HBCUs, and we have one Bethune-Cookman University, and then also across the country. They were under threat. And I would like to know, because I had some parents, I'm sure you had some people contact you, Commissioner Reed, some of us that had us contact, some of the residents, businesses, students even contacted us, parents especially. And they wanted to know kind of what did we do, how did we respond. So some of the questions that came up this week for me were, and I just wanted to be on the record that we're addressing it, or that we had some input to it, was what are we doing to protect the students as of right now as a city? I recognize the university is separate, but as a city, what are we doing to inform and safeguard the community around the university as well? Are we using any kind of dogs to find explosives, anything like that? Do we have a call-in number for tips regarding strangers on university property or in the surrounding areas? Are we investigating cars that seem out of place? Anything in place that assists students with managing the situation emotionally. So whenever you're under threat of death, danger, anything like that, it's a trauma, and it does impact you psychologically and definitely impacts concentration. So that's a concern. And I'd like an update on how the FBI is currently involved. We have parents who are concerned, we have citizens, and whom do they contact for updates? Do they contact commissioners? Do we have the city? Do we have it on the website? Where can they go for information that I can direct people to? And do we have any answers to these questions? Is Chief Young around?
Commissioner, if you were aware of the press conference that took place with the police chief, Young, as well as the chief of public safety for Bethune-Cookman, as well as the president of Bethune-Cookman, they had a very thorough press conference in reference to what is being done with I see the deputy chief here, so if she wants to highlight, there's an alert system that the university has that notify anyone that's part of their alert system, all students. I also received that information. The lieutenant and the captain were on scene right when it happened. In that press conference, they also talked about how the police presence will continue to be around the university, both those who are in uniform and not. I can't communicate with you what the FBI is doing because they're doing that all over the country because it's more than that. But the students are quite aware of who they should contact because of the alert system that Bethune-Cookman University has put in place. If there are any tips, I know that the deputy chief will be able to provide that information, who should people call, but the staff is still around the clock. I think the sheriff's department's bomb unit and dog team came and had to sweep every single building, every single property around it. So you want to share any more on that?
Sure. Deputy Chief Jennifer Witt at Daytona Beach Police Department. Most of what he said was covered in the press conference. The moment that we got called, and just to highlight, on January 4th is when this kind of all started. There were 6 schools throughout the United States that were threatened on January 4th. Monday, when we received our threat, we were one of 7, and for those that don't know, yesterday, 12 other schools throughout the country were threatened. So we're around 25 schools now, so this seems to be continuing into this month. As soon as we got the call, the bomb squad that for the sheriff's department was contacted. Daytona Beach does not have their own bomb squad. We work with them. They came out, and there were several dogs. They checked the entire buildings, the entire campus, the surrounding campuses. We did locate a bag that was suspicious. It ended up being trash. It was out on the road, but the bomb squad investigated that. Nobody approached it, things like that. We tracked down actually who dropped the bag that had the trash in it, and his room was actually searched in Joyner Hall with the dog. So we extensively searched it. That ended probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then we switched to the active shooter type portion of it because the bombs were supposed to go off first, and then we were going to have an active shooter on campus. So we switched to the active shooter. We had members of the SWAT team, members of our undercover group. They were all throughout the campus in plain clothes, in unmarked vehicles, so that nobody would see them. However, we had a perimeter of marked cars around the campus. So our intent was hopefully the marked cars were going to deter anybody, but if they made it past our marked cars, we had people inside the campus that hopefully would have caught anything that got past our marked cars. That is continuing now. We still have people out there that are either seen or not seen throughout the campus until we can get a handle on what's happening around the nation, not just our school. Like he said, I can't comment on exactly what the FBI is doing, but there is a group that they are targeting, the group that they're aware of, and they are investigating that group. So anything further would have to be the FBI to make a comment on anything they've done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the thorough report. And I'm sure there are residents at home who are watching and listening. And thank you so much for all of that information. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and like he said too, I just wanted to point out the campus itself does have an alert system. The facility, the students and the faculty knew right away at 4:30 when the thing came in to stay locked down. So they didn't release that lock until about 2 o'clock-ish. And campus was, I mean, absolutely, there was nobody moving around. So they followed the alerts and everybody did what they needed to do. Mhm. Sure.
This I feel for the students and the concentration level at this particular time. All righty. Next thing is going to be still with the police, but you don't have to get up. It's okay. So I did some neighborhood canvassing about some issues that are going on, and I wanted to find out some input on Beachside about some of our concerns. And one thing that came up was Lenox Park, that there is some activity going on, whether it's drug activity, homeless activity, but there's certainly, we took the time, I think 3 years ago, in Zone 3, we redid the park. It's a very nice little area for us, and now there seems to be some activity going on in that area. So if we could have some extra patrols, just kind of drive by at night, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. I thought they would say Sunsplash Park, but in actuality, they mentioned Lenox Park, which is right in the community, right? About a week ago, I went to the Advisory and Housing Board Committee. We had a mandatory meeting, I think the day before, and I'm the alternate. I went to the online meeting and then also the actual meeting. And some of their, interestingly, the advisory board, the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, they had conversation about a smaller home footprint, odd-shaped lots in the community and what to do with those lots, as well as lot lines. Those are some of the issues that they were addressing, and I think they will be joining us at some point. I have a board member here too, and also I think the chair is here. I told them I would bring this to their attention, or bring it to the city commission anyway. They will most likely bring along another bit of information that they want us to consider to support the affordable housing effort. But they're doing some really good work, and some of the seminars that the elected officials have to attend, they're very informative. They're quite helpful as it relates to zoning and land development codes and what we have to do from a policy perspective to help the community. This past week, I did go to the Museum of Arts and Science. I was hosting the Dr. Martin Luther King movie. It's 3 hours long if you'd like to come. It's completely free. It will be showed one more time, and that will be the first Tuesday of the month at the Museum of Arts and Science. Please come. It's a fantastic event. 3 hours, I warn you. Documentary footage that hasn't been seen before. Very private things, very good. Also, I did attend the Midtown Cafe opening, fantastic. And then a week before was the Sauté Kings, one in Zone 6, one in Zone 3, brand new restaurants. I recommend that you go. I see some faces here who attended. Please come and support those businesses. And then last night we had was it last night? Gosh, time flies. I think it was last night. It was the Represent photography event. And was it last night? Yeah, sorry. It was at One Daytona. Please go. They're open from 5 to 8 every night, and it's a bit of a museum. It's a pop-up museum, but it has fantastic artwork of local people in the community, and it's actually photography. And it's really nice. It shows some things, the fire department, but very good demonstration. While I was at the affordable housing meeting, a question came up. We are receiving quite a bit of money from the code enforcement fines. I'd like to know, because the question did come up, and this is just for public consumption, where does the money go when people pay for code enforcement? And more importantly, this came up at an Affordable Housing Board meeting, and I'd like to know, can we use some of those funds to help in the affordable housing effort? Is that possible? Any response to that?
We'll have to see where those, but it's probably going to the general fund to pay for code enforcement type operations and stuff like that. But we'll look to show you exactly where those funds go.
Okay, because some of the funds were, let's say one fine was maybe 10,000, 15,000. So, I mean, it would be interesting if, as part of our affordable housing effort, we could use some of those funds, if possible, to offset some of the costs that come up with affordable housing, impact fees, buying lots, anything along those lines. Just a thought. And then also, finally, in Zone 3, thank you so much for getting our roads repaved. And I've been sending emails back and forth, and I got a response, but I know I've got a lot of residents watching right now. It just makes it easier if you tell me publicly. It's just easier for me. We redid the roads. We repaved the roads. They're extremely thankful. They love the new roads. Some of the roads had speed bumps, which they petitioned for. The speed bumps were removed during the road repaving. They weren't replaced. Based on the emails, it seemed, and thank you for telling me, that they now have to repetition to have the same speed bumps installed. Is that correct?
Mr. Waller's coming up.
And if that is the process, then that's great, but they already did it once.
No, Mr. Waller's coming up.
Okay.
I didn't see him.
No, Mr. Waller's coming up.
Super. And I just want them to be able to hear the response.
Yes, ma'am. This is David Waller, Deputy Public Works Director. They don't actually have to petition roads that already had humps in them. We will automatically do a survey again of the area and do a speed test or speed study. The thought process is that often the speed bumps have been in place for 10 years or more. Dynamics in neighborhoods change, residents change, their opinions change. So this gives us an opportunity to ensure that what we're doing in the neighborhood is appropriate.
And so when can they expect that evaluation? Because I went to quite a few roads on Beachside already, and the ones that were repaved especially, I wanted their opinion on the speed, how clean we left the environment, and we actually did leave some bumps, some cones. And I'll get you the address. I want to say it's on Revelo. It's been there since the roads were repaved. They've actually stayed there, if it could be picked up. I wanted to know kind of what our workmanship was like and how intrusive we were. The response was great. They were very happy with it, but they do want the speed bumps back.
Well, first thing we do in that process is we do a study of speeds. We take a snapshot of a few days, and if the speeds exceed the threshold, then we'll do a survey. And if 51% of the residents do respond positively that they want speed humps, that's when we initiate the install. It's hit and miss. Oftentimes, residents have a speed issue that's documented, but 51% do not vote yes. So we'll just have to, each one is handled individually.
Okay, but we're initiating that, right?
Yes, ma'am. Any street that had existing speed bumps on them, we do go out and do the study. Understand that we're paving a fair amount of roads, so we have a limited ability to do them. We can only do a street or so at a time, so we'll work through that process. If you've got streets in particular, we can identify those as a priority to do this.
Phoenix. It's a cut-through street.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You bet.
And we will provide the process to all commissioners so you all are aware how we go about going and doing the speed checks and the examinations for those roads. So we'll make sure that is provided to all of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Let's keep paving those roads.
What I want to discuss tonight, we have a lot of residents over in the Bevel quarter that are a little confused that Bevel Road 400 is a state road, and then the Pelican Bay extension that was approved by the county on November 2nd is a county road. We have no authority of approving anything over there with the master county plan. Well, we did something went out through an email from the Master Association of Pelican Bay today, which was only part of the whole thing that we passed on November 3rd, a day after, and it says the mayor and all the commissioners passed this. The fair share, which there are a lot of people are confused what the fair share is. And so I'd like to get Mr. Morris up to explain what we passed. We did not pass, we don't have the authority to pass that Pelican Bay extension. If you could do that for me, Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mayor Commission, Jim Morris, Deputy City Manager. The question that's raised is that in the agenda item, it refers to the proportionate fair share agreement, which y'all have seen a lot of those for different properties. There was one for this development as well. And in the summary, it talks about the Pelican Bay Drive North, which is that connecting road at the traffic light that you've heard objections about. That is all county property. The connection into that property was done by the county some time ago, where the traffic light is by the fire station with a stub out. It's part of the master plan of the Daytona Beach Airport to construct that road. And the airport itself is like an island of county jurisdiction in the city. It goes back to the time that the county actually got the property from the federal government. It was originally a World War II training facility, and the airport has expanded, and the county's jurisdiction with the acquisition of additional property going towards Bevel has also expanded. So anything in that area is permitted by the county, authorized by the county, and in this case, there will be a developer working with the county to construct it, but it's all county approval. The city commission doesn't have jurisdiction over that property. You couldn't approve or deny a road in that area. So that's something that's happened independent of the commission. It's something that we as staff have worked with as a part of a site plan. It's also part of the traffic study, which is why it was referenced in the proportionate fair share, because proportionate fair share is based on traffic impact and what it costs to defray that impact. But from the commission's perspective, collectively, Commissioner Cantu, individually, you have no responsibility, you have no ability to do or undo that road. It's purely an action by the county. It was a separate action taken by the county council on a separate county agenda. So the mix-up in respect to that is wrongly placed if the commission is blamed for that.
Thank you.
Certainly.
And I have one more question on that, Mr. Jagger. The master HOA actually sent something out to the residents. Most of the residents understand clearly that we did not pass it, but there's a few that are misguided. And I would like to see if the mayor and the commission is willing to let you send a letter to our master HOA and attorney clearing what we actually passed with the fair share.
I'll be glad to do that at your direction.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I can provide what was approved as far as the fair share agreement and maybe our regulations with regard to how that's calculated and determined.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Henry?
No questions tonight. I mean, no comments tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Reed?
No comments.
You know, I had some comments, but I don't recall what they are. So I've been listening to you all so intently, and you've had so many good comments that I forgot about mine. So, Mr. Manager?
Yes, before I move into comments, we did have an item that needed to be on the agenda, so we're going to bring up Mr. Morris that deals with outside activities. Sorry about that. I was at the red light district. We had items that came on the agenda in reference to the Bike Week Master Plan that we do need to approve tonight.
This item was also processed correctly, although as it came in, it's for Bethune-Cookman and also for Karen Agar's facilities on MMB. It's those two activities. The college has worked with us, so did Ms. Agar, and that's been a great step forward just there to have that activity on MMB with Ms. Agar's business, and the college will be doing their things too that are portrayed there. So we're seeking your approval of that item too, and I really do think that will end this session of Bike Week 2022.
Do you want me to? I'll read the background. It's a resolution approving a request to allow outside activities on private properties associated with Bike Week 2022 master plan activities. Midtown Plaza and Bethune-Cookman University have submitted requests to allow outside activities on their properties in conjunction with Bike Week 2022 master plan activities. Event dates for both properties are Thursday, March 4th, 2022 through Sunday, March 13th, 2022.
All right. We have a motion, Commissioner Reed, second from Commissioner Henry. Do we have any questions? Welcome Bethune-Cookman, welcome Ms. Agar. All those in favor, let it be.
Any public comment?
Any public comment?
Does
No
anyone like to speak on this item that was brought up?
No public comment. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Mayor Commission, thank you and apologies again.
Thank you. Also, just staff provided me that the Daytona Express, Inc., which is the organization that was brought up by a citizen. If you go to the IRS website, they are a tax-exempt organization, and that information can be searched at any time to denote that that organization is tax-exempt. And we have with our finance department have their EIN numbers as well. So I just wanted to clear that up for the record. We did take a trip to Tallahassee, and so I would ask that, and I've told them, if they get longer than the 4 minutes, I will turn the mic off, just to, because Dennis, Hardy, and Drew, and they all talk longer than me. So if they would just give an update on where we are based on the things that you all took to Tallahassee in reference to legislative matters that we were successful. So Hardy, you can come on up first, and then I think it's Dennis and then Drew.
Do we each get 4 minutes?
Can I put the timer on?
No.
Commissioner Reed said yes.
No. Staff?
Mayor, members of the commission, Hardy Smith, Government Relations Administrator for the City of Daytona Beach.
Yeah, really.
We're in the legislative session process now, and we send out a weekly legislative update provided from our Tallahassee lobbyist, the David Ramba firm. If you kind of walk back to the beginning of the session, actually pre-session, the length of those updates was maybe a page, maybe 2 pages. Well, now it's a pretty thick report, and it's getting thicker. So the amount of activity as we reach about almost the halfway point, session is scheduled to end March the 11th. That's a disclaimer there, it may or may not. But March the 11th, we're about the halfway mark. The number of bills is a heavyweight number. The city of Daytona Beach specifically, in a very positive way, is advancing, and I like to call it it's a tournament. And we're advancing in the tournament, and the idea is just to be able to stay and play one more day. Our 2 appropriation requests, very significant infrastructure projects for the city, amounting to about $3 million that we're asking for. We have had the very significant step of having approval by our designated subcommittee on appropriations. That means we are now eligible for full budget consideration. Budget negotiations are all going on right now, so just keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see where we are as that particular process evolves. And we got to see one of the subcommittee hearings take action on our request, and that was nice to see. Another bill that was very important to the City Commission is Senator Wright and Representative Tom Leake's bill related to the pop-up events, the non-permitted events stemming from the truck event that we've had issues with. That bill is progressing in the legislature. It does have the full support of the Florida League of Cities. So that is a good thing. And we were able to sit on a subcommittee hearing for that bill. There really was no significant opposition. There was only one negative vote, and there was no comment associated with that negative vote. It now moves to its next committee hearing of jurisdiction. And that's the legislative activity. Our city manager is extremely impressive in working the halls of Tallahassee. It's very clear. He's very familiar with that. He's got an extensive network of relationships that it's very impressive to see. And it will serve the city well for a long period of time. Thank you.
I have one question. You said Elizabeth Fetterhoff on the pop-up event?
No, I'm sorry. It's Representative Leake. I'm sorry if I misspoke. Yes. Representative Fetterhoff and Senator Wright are sponsoring the 2 water project bills, and it's Leake and Wright on the pop-up events. I'm sorry.
So we will bring in, is Dennis ready? Yep. Yeah, we had, our first day was an intercity tour. Cameron was there with us I wanted to see some of the areas around the colleges and universities, how they work together. And so Dennis has a brief presentation.
Brief presentation, yes. Dennis Morozek, Planning Director. And I thought you said we had 10 minutes, and I was happy when I got it knocked down to 5. So we'll try to shave off another minute here. So whenever we travel to another city, there's always a great opportunity to see what the cities are doing and to bring it back to Daytona Beach and to see exactly what we can do for Daytona Beach. This particular project is called College Town. It's a mixed-use development, includes retail, restaurant, entertainment uses. They received some financial incentives to assist them with the project moving forward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you kind of the history of College Town, how it started, how it grew, and what grew around it, and how some of the partnerships with the mayor and the local people helped move this project along. So this is Tallahassee. This is south of Tennessee for those who are familiar with it, and I'll show you where the campuses are. So you see there's Florida State Campus and Florida A&M. And then the project that we were looking at, College Town, is located right over there at the edge of FSU, but very near Florida A&M. So right between the two colleges. So that's our area of focus. So one of the first things I want to do is I wanted to pull up 2001, so 10 years ago, what did the property look like? What we saw was we had a lot of industrial, a lot of warehouse, not very sexy. There was a lot of students in town, but they really weren't using this area. They were probably using the area to park, to go to some football games, but probably limited activity going to a lot of these areas. Two things I wanted to point out. There's a road that runs east-west, so it's left-right. Closer to the top, that's Madison. And the one that's a little bit below it, just below center, that's Gaines Street. That's a 4-lane road. It's a pretty high-traveled road used to get people in and out of this area. So 2012 is when we start seeing the development for College Town come about. You see the area that's being cleared over there. That's the actual College Town development. So that's where you're going to see the improvements that they were assigned to come forward with. Again, you're noticing Gaines Street, what's going on over there, and Madison. So as development occurs, this is 2013, 2 years later, the city had decided that they're going to do some infrastructure improvements as well. I'm sure that they were probably already lined up, but the timing, they were just a little bit behind College Town moving forward. So what did they do? Madison Street, they worked with the developer to add additional on-street parking for Madison Street. They knew that they were going to have some activities over there. They knew they were going to need additional parking, so that's what they did. Gaines Street, which is on the south side, what they did, very similar to Beach Street, they went through a street diet. They had 4 lanes, so they eliminated 2 lanes. They created wider sidewalks. They created some landscaped areas. They created on-street parking. So they made it a much more friendly environment for people to come down there, to walk around, to park your car. And that's part of the process that supports the development that you're seeing going on. So as we continue, 2013, the roads are kind of coming into play, development's coming into play, and you see some good progress. You see 2 parking lots that are sitting in the middle of the development. Those are the parking lots that are used to support the development as it existed right there. That's what was intended. What was happening, and if you see south of Gaines, and I'll back up one more, south of Gaines, you started to see some growth as well. Now, that's not associated with the College Town project. That was people coming in saying, you know what, we see some good activity coming in here. Let's get in there as well. So you see those 2 parking lots that are in the middle. Those are used to support the College Town project. It was decided that this property is more valuable to be used as something else beside just a surface parking lot. So development occurred. They put in a parking garage because they knew we're going to see more development activity over here. So they put in a parking garage at that location. You see a couple more changes to the street network. You see that they've installed a traffic circle. Asked them, I was talking to them about that. They said it worked perfect in this location. Some locations it works well, some locations it doesn't. This particular location was an excellent location for them to be able to use the traffic circle. Again, 2018, more activity. You see that The other parking lot, surface parking lot, that goes away. We see a building go in there, that's a multifamily building, and then with it comes a parking garage, another parking garage to be able to support it. Now you see all of the development that's occurring over there. You see the development occurring south of Gaines. So this is 2021. This is the most current picture that I have. So what I wanted to show you, as you see all of the development over there, and one other thing I wanted you to take a look at, and I didn't even talk about it, they installed a north-south road that didn't previously exist. So whenever we look at connections in a city, any opportunities we have for that, it always works well. So you see the north-south road. So this is 10 years ago. This is the College Town area 10 years ago. And I'm going to just superimpose all of the improvements that they've made. It's quite a transition. It started with the College Town and it spread. Hotels, multifamily, new restaurants, places to go, people to see, grocery stores. There's some cool designs they had for the parking garage. Again, the multifamily. Some cool art. That's the traffic circle that I was pointing out. It's got a spear in the middle of the traffic circle. It lights up. They really enjoy that over there in Florida State. So some of the points of focus that we were talking about. We did meet with the developer. We did meet with the mayor of Tallahassee, and they were all very exciting, and they loved talking about the projects and what worked, what didn't work, and so some of the things that we had talked about. The redevelopment requires public-private partnerships. That can come in a lot of different forms. In this particular case with College Town, it came with an incentive program, similar to what we did with the framework. So that was kind of the beginning to get things going. The improvement for infrastructure to lead to private investment. You saw the improvements that they were making with Gaines Street. You saw the improvements they were making with Madison. They were doing some stormwater improvements, some utility improvements. All of those things, people started to take a look at what the government was doing, what the city was doing, and said, you know what, they're putting an investment over here. This is the place to be. Similar to what we're doing on Beach Street, similar to what you're going to be seeing is going to be happening over on ISB. This is an investment in an area. A solid, predictable city plan provides assurances. This was important, and the developer was talking about how this was important for him. He didn't want any surprises when he comes in. He said he worked on one building. He had to go through and get about 8, 9 variances to have the building. He said it would be great if there was a plan in place that we knew what we were going to get when we came in here. So the assurances from a solid, predictable plan assists the developer. It also assists the community. You know what you're going to get. You have a plan in place, that's what we're going to get. And as planners, we're very excited about that because that's what we like to be a part of. Take advantage of the student population. I think there's approximately 70,000 students over in the area between FSU and FAMU and some of the other colleges, TCC. We have a great population of students over here in Daytona Beach. Sometimes we maybe don't take advantage of that as much as we could and don't focus on it as much as we could. But it's a great resource for us. And I think that seeing this plan and how they've been able to work it and use it to lead students that way and other people that way, it really worked. And we have that opportunity here as well in Daytona Beach. Create places that people want to go to. These are public places, private places. These are just, creating that cool place. Why do we want to go there? This is where people want to go. So we have to look at that as we put these plans together. It's more than buildings, it's places that are cool. And then we also need to program regular activities. You can build all these places as much as you want. If we don't have activity going over there, people will be less likely to go there. I've gone down to Sanford a few times, and they program. And they're always having people down there. There's other communities that do that. We need to do that to program these places so that those are the activities that we want. So people get out onto the streets. So a lot of this looks familiar to us. It's a lot of stuff we're doing over here in Daytona Beach. A lot of opportunity for Daytona Beach to do a lot more things. We shouldn't be afraid to do big plans. And I'm going to leave you with one thing. As a planner, there's a planner named Daniel Burnham, and he developed the original Chicago plan. He was an architect planner, one of the first urban planners out there. And he had a quote, and I love his quote. Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood. Make big plans. Aim high in hope and work. And that's what we should be doing. So that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Just wanted to say, and before Drew comes up, and if there's any questions, the reason I made Dennis go with me, he was a little concerned why we were going, is because he is the leader of the visioning for our planning department in that area, working under Mr. Morris, and wanted him to have access with those individuals. I have a very good relationship. My personal attorney is a part of this process that does this development, and they found out that the mayor of Tallahassee was my counselor. And so
they're all friends.
Yeah, we're all friends. So this is the potential, what I see, just that I want to eventually bring to you all for our visioning and retreat, is that A1A, Seabreeze, Beach Street, the Main Street corridor could be something that we can attack as a community, and then go down into some of our other neighborhoods to connect with the MMBs, the MLK to come across. So those are things that Dennis and his team will be working on. And then we have another component when Drew comes up that talks about the business and the incubator process utilizing our colleges and universities.
Thank you.
Oh, he has a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question. Do you have any idea what the dollar amount of public investment was in that project?
Yeah, I don't, but I can find out. That's one of those easy questions to find out. I'll get that for you.
Thank you.
And the developer has said he would come here, as well as in the city of Tallahassee would want to do an inner city with the mayor. He's offered that he would come down and do an inner city tour to see what we have also.
Mm-hmm. You have to remember that a lot of it is where's your catalyst? And, like it or not, when you think about Daytona Beach, what are different catalysts? What we did last week or a few weeks ago on Beach Street is a catalyst, even though it was you didn't have 2 weeks later when you had another apartment complex that's, coming in, and all of those things. If you think about out on LPGA, there were some things that were a catalyst, and Tanger primarily was the major catalyst for everything else that took place. Once people knew that there was going to be that type of shopping there, people wanted to live there, and then other businesses wanted to come. North America came, and so it's about catalyst, but all of that was public-private partnership to start those things off. But it doesn't have to last permanently, because ultimately you want to be able to do a lot of what we're able to do now, which is take care of some of your other issues. One of the reasons that we were able to move from $2 million in road improvement in our city to $4 million is because of these things that have happened over the years. But it'd be nice to know what the number was, because we're going to always have pushback as when you have those public-private partnerships. But I tell people that for me, and this is just me, 10 years ago when I first ran, I said I was going to be supportive of those things, because you hear me always say up here, I want to splash. If you want big transformational things to take place, you have to, have that, not only that vision, but that political will to make them happen. But I'd be happy to know that as well.
We'll get that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think Drew is the last one for a few minutes. Is he here? Oh, yeah.
Drew Driscoll, Deputy City Manager and Fire Chief. As far as the incentives go, there were 8 de-escalating incentives, starting from a big impact, a big splash, to lower. I don't have the values of that, though, but I do recall them saying 8 de-escalating. I don't think mine's as exciting as that College Town was, nor the excitement that it is sitting in chambers and seeing your bill, your appropriation bill, or your public safety bills passing right there in front of you. One of my conversations is relationships. Don't go anywhere with Derek Fiecher. It is impossible to make it 10 steps down the road without meeting, oh, this was a guy I knew in high school, and they're all elected officials. They're all important people within the Tallahassee community, whether it's local government or even state government. After hours, we even took in a FAM game, and they won by 2 points against Jackson State, by the way. But to walk through there, oh, hey. I was like, we're just trying to watch a basketball game. Come on, it's after hours. But what I took away from all that, whether we're walking in the hallways of the Capitol or touring local government, touring the city hall, the importance of relationships. Hardy has fostered relationships with our delegation. Mr. Fiecher has expanded our delegation from not only Volusia County, but Polk County elected delegation. They're involved. And everywhere we go, you say, hey, I'm from Daytona Beach. And you just expect, okay, so what? No, the excitement, the buzz about Daytona Beach is something else right now. Besides the fact that we're an international brand name, word has spread what's going on in Daytona Beach. So people are interested. In fact, as Mr. Fiecher was saying, Mayor Daley wants to come down and see what's going on and steal some ideas. And so that, whether you call it stealing ideas, reappropriating ideas, I think it's how we all succeed together and how local government brings more to the community. One of the many relationships and new relationships I got to form was meeting with a friend of Mr. Fiecher's, go figure, but dealing with what they call the Donley Station. And this is a business incubator. And locally, we've tried business incubators. They've been tried through our university system, whether it's I know Cookman's had one, UCF has one at the airport, we've tried one. But they took a fresh, unique approach. Instead of forcing upon the young entrepreneurs what we think they need, they actually opened their eyes, what do you need from us? And so instead of being very restrictive and everyone protecting their information, it's a very synergistic environment that they've created where you rent a desk or you could rent a side office. But if you have an issue with something or don't know how to address an issue, there's plenty of other people to help assist. And it wasn't a large, I think they charge $75 to $100 for a desk a month, but it comes with mailbox and printers and computers and everything you need. Is a very unique thing. A lot of young entrepreneurs in the tech community were utilizing this business or incubator. One of the individuals decided to put face pictures on their socks, bought them from China for $2, put a $100 Facebook ad out there, and sells them for $40. Never had a bit of inventory, and his biggest problem making $10,000 a week. And so he came to the incubator to help. I figured I must be doing something wrong. But it was really, when he came for the help, he reached out to the other entrepreneurs of how do I do this? How do I manage money? How do I legally structure myself? And from that, he was able to be successful, and there's further expansions from this. I think it's something that as we really want to explore small business and entrepreneurship in Daytona Beach, it's something that we need to, again, partner with the universities and create the environment to have that synergy so our local youth could, or local residents, not only thrive, but it's also a way to retain our local university students so they don't travel outside of Daytona Beach. They stay here and they see the opportunities what the future brings. But overall, outside of a basketball game and I think 2 nights of Guthrie's chicken, if you ever had Guthrie's chicken, it is I was reliving college days. But nonetheless, it was a great trip, a great experience, and I appreciate the continued mentorship and relationships that are newly being formed.
Nice.
Drew likes the band, too. He enjoyed the the basketball game. So I won't tell him all you did.
And he was laughing at my dancing, but you don't even know. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you for focusing on that. that interest in the beach side, and we can see where our planning and a lot of our vision is going in that area. So I think it's bringing that together. It's our greatest resource, and as it explodes, we think we've seen levels. Once that beach side goes to the next to its highest, begins to reach its potential, watch out, world. Watch out, world. Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right. That concludes
I do have one thing
my
I need to.
comments as well. Yes,
All right.
sir. Our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I need to seek your approval again for an extension of my services to the First Step Shelter. This is the.
6 months, please.
We can do that. It's up to you, of
6 months,
course.
please.
If that's your direction. So their current agreement allows for me to represent First Step Shelter, and that time period is elapsed. So would you like me to extend it for 6 months based on your motion?
6 months, someone? Yes, thank you.
All right. 6 months it is. And public comment and a vote, and I will prepare the agreement for your signature, Mayor.
Okay. All right, we have,
Anyone want to speak on this item of extending Mr. Jagger's contract with the First Step Shelter for 6 months?
all right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. I got back to 6. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that concludes our portion of the meeting. At this time, we will begin hearing from the residents of Daytona Beach.
Okay. Our first speaker is Mark Gallus, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Fietcher. Thank you for giving me a few minutes here. I see that I have a few colleagues here. Another gentleman, Scott, who is also looking to develop some type of tiny home village. And we've also got Sue here, who is the chair of our Affordable Housing Committee, which I thank you all for nominating and allowing me to serve on. It's been a great experience. On the Affordable Housing Committee, I want to let you know briefly, because I don't know what Sue's going to say, and we've got two members here, Danette and Quinita, both serve on that committee in different capacities, so you're well represented. This year, because of COVID, the state mandates that for the SHIP funding, that we provide recommendations to you and you vote on them. 2 were mandated. We didn't have time to dig into the others. So those 2 mandated items, you did vote on and approve, so we get our SHIP funding. And then you went beyond that with the accessory dwelling units, which was one of the 11 items they want us to look at. A couple of the items are covered in the LDC, but we see 6 items as a committee that we would really like to see you folks vote on and maybe get ahead of next year's state mandate. So we are going to, over the next 4 months, meet monthly rather than bi-monthly so that we can make good recommendations to you probably by midsummer. So I wanted to let you know that. We're also going to look at some alternative ideas, and that's where my passion is. A lot of you know I'm the tiny home guy right now, or one of them, and I want to develop a tiny home village in our community. I loved the presentation by Cornerstone. I'm not sure how that is really affordable for a lot of people. My focus is on, and my organization is called Homeless to Home. We are going to rebrand and get a DBA because we are not focused on street homeless, though many perceive that. We are looking to serve the widow who's on a $900 a month pension, the veteran or the disabled person who is being priced out of this market and who needs a permanent home, not a transitional situation. And in my village, we are looking at smaller homes than Cornerstone is presenting and much more affordable. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned possibly providing land. At the county meeting last month for affordable housing, we learned about community land trusts. There's a way to structure that so that the people that live in the homes can have some level of ownership so that you can partner with somebody like us in a private and public partnership. We want to look at that. And I see I'm about to run out of time. So I do want to say, in LA right now, they're calling them tiny homes. They're 70 square foot little sheds with no facilities. That's not what I'm talking about. I will need 244 square feet or 288 square feet for an efficiency or 1-bedroom unit for a single person in those populations to live permanently, live well, and I hope we can cover that. So please, when you look at the square footage, Don't put the 375 or 400
Thank
as
you,
the
sir.
bottom. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Dr. Kennedy Jacobs.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. I hope you were listening when Drew and Dennis made some comments about activity, especially when he said nothing would happen unless there was a reason for them to come there. It's been 14 years now since the project manager left from Beachside. Downtown has had a project manager. Midtown's had a project manager all that time. We did not. We need activities over there. We need to create the ability to do something on Main Street with somebody who organizes it. You can't expect to have the organization downtown with Jason or Charles at Midtown and then nobody on the beach side and expect anything to happen. So I'm again asking for the umpteenth thousandth time for a project manager for the beach side. Secondly, last week we were talking about, or the mayor was talking about short-term rentals on the beach side. And he kept saying Surfside Village, Surfside Village, Surfside Village, all the way to Oak Ridge, Surfside Village, Surfside Village, Surfside Village, all the way to Oak Ridge. Well, guess what? They're not the same thing, okay? Derbyshire and Midtown are not the same thing, all right? Pelican Bay and Indigo are not the same place. They're different. My area, north of Main Street, is not Surfside Village. Surfside Village stops at Main Street. So there's a difference in the type of housing in both. Plus, as I told you before, the house next to me sold for $650. One behind me for $790. It's changing. The demographics are changing. We were right in front of the Daytona Grand, right next to the plaza. So our area is different than south of Main Street. So when you do your short-term rentals, please consider that as well. And lastly, you also put off until next year the zones. You got to realize that, Ken, there are 3,000 people that are going to be coming into your zone, and they're somewhere else. Juanita, there's 3,000 people that are going into your zone. They're also somewhere else. So they're not going to be able to vote for you. So they may be in Ken's zone tomorrow, but they're voting for you today. And likewise, there's what, 5,000, possibly even 6,000 in your zone that you're holding captive that they cannot vote for Danita or Danette, I'm sorry, or any of the others, because we are going to have to move it that drastically because it's really changed. And the idea that they're, I don't want to say stupid or ignorant, that they can't find out where to go to vote, Lisa is going to send out notices to everybody with the changes. This is your new precinct. This is your new zone. They will be notified by the county.
Our next speaker is Reverend Dr. Kennedy Jacobs, and on deck is William Bitteroff.
Good evening to our Honorable Mayor. God bless you and to the Commission, to all of you who are present tonight. My name is Reverend Dr. Kennedy Jacobs, Sr. I am the founder of the African American Family Institute, a community 501c3, a subsidiary of Trinity City of Praise. This organization is a result of 6 years of study and research through a Doctor of Ministry program at Regent University in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which produced a completed dissertation entitled, Is the African American Family Endangered? A mixed method research analysis on how belief systems impact sustainable family dynamics. Within our community today, there are questions being asked on every platform. What happens to our children? What happens to the Black community? We have just entered Black History Month, and the question is, how do we make a difference? How do we help community? How do we make families stronger? And how do we help children survive? I believe communities change when people change. The African American Family Institute is designed to re-educate, to establish early childhood learning concerning family roles, best practices, and sustainable pathways for children and families. I'm here tonight to share and introduce this idea of change and transformation. Secondly, I would like to announce an event that we are now preparing for, if he would put it on the screen, the African American Family Institute Symposium. On February the 25th and 26th, we have local leaders, educators, professionals in the community that we're coming together to create a platform to talk about issues that are concerning our Black community. How do we help youth? How does media negatively or positively impact our youth? About the stress and the what we would call grief that our communities are facing. So we've placed these professionals together to have dialogue and to perhaps bring solutions to our change. I was watching the television the other day for the last 2 months, and 2 incidents were a 16-year-old in Sanford, Florida, who shoots an 18-year-old. Then in Orlando, where a father takes the life of a UCF athlete. It's people. It's families. My doctoral degree was to say, how do we help? And here in Black History Month, I'm asking the city for support. I supported the African American Family Summit in 2020. We invested $10,000 to have an event such as this over at the Hilton. And we didn't have the support from the community. And so today I'm asking to the commissioners, to the mayor, for support to actually do something creative, to bring knowledge, information, to support families. If families are not stronger, our community cannot be stronger. So I want to thank you tonight again for your solicitation and to help these children in these communities that need the help the most. Thank you very much.
Where's your event hosted?
I don't know if you could see it on the flyer or not.
I saw the date, 25th.
It's going to be at the new Mount Zion right there on Mary McLeod, I think by the Railroad Trail, Pastor Harding.
Okay.
The 25th and the 26th of February. Yes, it is. Thank you very much, Commissioner May. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Oh, the hours are from 9 to 2:30 in the afternoon, and then there's an evening presentation each night of Friday and Saturday as well. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Our next speaker is William Bitteroff, and on deck is John Hernandez.
Can you email that to us also?
I sure will.
And
In the future, if you can go ahead and bring flyers
just
with
a
you
minute,
for
Mr.
events
Bitteroff.
like that, so we can pass it out to the commission.
Just a second. Yeah, how do we
That's what I want to know. Don't
help partner and
Well, what we're
get
trying.
the word out? Because what's the objective in terms of, because I know that I see the people that are on there and I know that it's going to be valuable to the community.
Sir.
How do we help make it a hit?
Well, that's the reason I came tonight to present. In other words, to reach those who are leading our communities, but more importantly, these type of events within our communities, we need financial support for these events. So you have private persons or community residents like myself, like again, private raising funding, 10,000 here or there, to try to support community. And no one can carry community on their shoulders. No one person can do it. And so tonight, my objective is to say, okay, tonight, be aware of what we're trying to do to support the community at large. And even though this is called the African American Family Institute, this institute is going to be open to all families. We're actually coming from our social location, from where we practice our careers and ministry. Is where we're actually trying to start this endeavor. And so tonight, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, is that we're looking for buy-in. We want to partner with our community leaders, and more importantly, get the support that it can be effective on what we're trying to do.
But in partnering with us, the end objective has to be, how do I get the people into this space to be nurtured in this way?
So the
information you're going to have, because the transformation can't come if we get what we've been getting too much of with some of the events that we've been supporting.
Right. Here's what we're doing for is getting people there, if you're asking. But first of all, we have educational institutions where college students are now studying about what we call the very things we talk about, social climate, the things that are happening in our social area. So we got universities that we're trying to invite students in. We have public persons in the community where I've been doing research for the last 2 years, knocking on doors to single moms, single dads, people who are raising children, but they're looking for the answers. And so we're trying to create a platform where these families can come and learn, not be judged, not to tell them what to do, but to value their environment, but more importantly, to give them education to be strengthened. That's the whole point of it, not to say what you're not doing, but to create a platform that we can have dialogue and present solutions for whatever they're going through as well.
Okay. Okay, I look forward to seeing the prescription, and then we do have a commission meeting next week, we might be able to do something. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do we have the information if we want to help you?
18th.
I'll be more than happy to say it again, Commissioner.
Do we have the information if we want to help you?
I will forward it, and that's why I didn't know who to forward it to directly.
All of us.
So all of you, we can, okay. All right, we'll direct it to everybody directly, I will. And okay, will do.
Okay, and how did the summit go last weekend with the alcohol?
Oh,
Okay.
yes,
The
sir.
question, how did-
You mean the chamber?
Yeah, excuse me.
It went well. I was there. I represented you and the manager.
Yes, you did. I'm sorry, you had a question.
So are you looking for more families to attend? Are you looking for community leaders to attend?
We're
Are you
looking for, it's going to be family, community leaders, and agencies.
Okay.
Because the agencies that are providing services to families, we're bringing them in that environment because the services has to meet the people they're trying to bring the services to.
And so us telling just families about it would be helpful. You're
Yes,
trying to get
yes,
families there all
exactly.
day long. Okay, all right,
Exactly.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a good night.
Mr. Betteroff?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I'm not dressed as good as him, but I try. But what? Thank you. Well, anyway, I look cool, but I should look better. I appreciate everybody for the putting forward the bike week parking for me on my properties. I'd also like you to try to consider to respectfully a special event permit for a period of maybe a year to establish EV a charging destination on the same lots, possibly, not pushing any direction, but I'm wanting to do like events with electric cars and things of that nature on my properties over there on East ISB. I don't know how you feel about it. The one thing that I was going to say right now is I'm just trying to go in a better direction than I went in the past.
Okay.
I don't know what your thoughts are, but please keep me in mind. I appreciate you. And God bless you particularly because I know how much you do for the community and how much you've done for the church and what you've gone out of your way for. And God bless you, sir. Thank you.
So, Mr. Bittendorf, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you asked the local residents what they think of electric charging vehicles at all on Beachside?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. The neighbors on the side on Grandview and other places, they're for anything there other than having to throw homeless off of something vacant.
Okay. So I actually spoke with them also about electric charging stations. I have a large population who is very much green, and they're very concerned about the environment, and there was a deep interest in it.
Oh,
And
good.
some of them realized that there weren't, as we move in this direction, they realized that there weren't many charging stations. So if people are coming from the Orlando area to visit, they did not know where they would actually charge. And it was an interesting thing. I know we can do it at One Daytona, if I'm not mistaken. I called FPL, and FPL actually ran a quick study. And Daytona Beach was a free site where they actually pulled data. Their next stop is going to be Daytona Beach Shores. So this is coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Mr. Jordan actually has gotten letters, I think, from FPNL and Tesla and Charge America. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. My 9-year-old told me last night that I needed to get rid of my car for an electric vehicle. See, he did.
Our next speaker is John Hernandez, and on deck is Tom Caffrey.
He was right.
There, John Hernandez. Okay, our next speaker is Tom Caffrey, and on deck is Scott Vanta.
Put him to work.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, staff, thanks so much. Tom Caffrey, 816 Main Street, world's most famous brewery. And as of last week, 512 Main Street. I just purchased the old Walter Dyer building, going to be renovating it, making upstairs a high-end vacation rental, because that is permitted use on that property. And then downstairs, we're going to get a seasonal, or not seasonal renter. It'll be a full-time tenant in the building. So we're going to renovate it, get it all up to code. WKL should be pulling the roofing permit here in the next week or so, so we'll get cranking on it. I came initially for the 777 project, and really I didn't have any opposition to a lot of stuff there, but the one thing I did see in the statement was Main Street has a seasonal environment peaking during Bike Week and Biketoberfest, there was little to no activity for the remainder of the year. So for me personally, that's how it was 3.5 years ago. But as of now, we no longer really need the Bike Week business. We appreciate the Bike Week business, but statistically, August to October and November to January are almost identical numbers for me, that 3-month period. February to April and May to July are almost identical now. So our numbers year round are up. So we're doing quite well. Also, the Affordable Housing Act that I saw, or the affordable housing that you guys are talking about, $360 a square foot is what Cornerstone is at. The average in Daytona is $180. So they're a little bit above average. And the average sale price in Daytona is $240,000. So they are below that threshold. There's only 100 homes in all of Daytona Beach under $240,000. So there's not many properties available currently. Last thing I'll say is food trucks, food trucks, food trucks. We need food trucks on Main Street. We need food trucks on A1A. We need food trucks on International Speedway. We need food trucks everywhere, not just 250 feet from the road. So we would really, really, really like food trucks. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
Our next speaker is Scott Banta, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
That wasn't on your menu today. I know I'm going to Popeye. Let's see, we here too long.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Scott Bant. I'm representing DreamQuest Home Partners. So we're another burgeoning company that's coming now to do tiny home neighborhoods. I'm also on the Volusia County Affordable Housing Land Development Regulation Committee. And I would suggest that you all might want to send a rep to that meeting. We're having our next meeting on the 16th. Our committee is our mission is to provide Volusia County commissioners with different aspects that might be able to change the land development regulations to provide for more affordable housing and tiny homes. I've been developing land in greater Orlando area since 1983. I've done a bunch of public-private partnerships, and I'm really happy that everyone on the commission seems to be talking about vision. So I would be very happy to attend a workshop relative to tiny homes. And then also I've been working with Mark, who's doing the lower end. Cornerstone has their thing. Ours is doing little neighborhoods that are very similar to small multifamily projects. So our typical deal would be 2 to 5 acres, and it would be very similar to a small multifamily project. One thing to note is that 57% at a Volusia County Affordable Housing Summit on December 7th, they said that 57% of the Volusia County residents are challenged with 30% of their income going toward housing. And I think that's a huge number. And what we're trying to do now, or what we're going to do, is we'd want to do 2,000 of these homes in the next 3 years in greater Central Florida. And I think it's imperative that we get past the rhetoric and actually see some activity happening. And there's a House Bill 1339, which allows local governments to override zoning of commercial, industrial, and other properties in order to provide affordable housing. The only group that we know of so far that's employed that is the city of St. Pete, and Liz Abernathy, who's head of development services there, is very happy to talk to anybody about that. I'm also working on a project in Rockledge that Kim mentioned in her presentation, because the city council there has approved an ordinance for tiny homes, tiny home neighborhoods. So again, I would be delighted to be able to participate in a workshop. And if I can do anything to help you all on affordable housing, I'm going to become the Central Florida spokesperson once I learn how to talk better on affordable housing. So appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Can I ask a question, sir? Hello. Can I ask a quick question over here? I'm aware of House Bill 1339. I think it's a really good bill, a really good way for us to help affordable housing. How many different builders are there? Because I'm not stuck on one builder. The goal is just changing the zoning so we can have a smaller footprint, because to me, that is the first place. We don't have anything to really go down the road you want to go. But how many different how many different options are there? I've heard of the 3M printing design. I've viewed concrete structure slabs you pour and go. I've seen things put up really quickly. I've been doing some research on different products that we can use.
Yep.
So how do you suggest going about this?
I think there's another thing that you may want to look at, which is called Appendix Q, which was part of the International Building Code that was adopted by the United States, and in Florida adopted it this past a year ago, January 1st of 2021. And that provides a specific building code for 400 square feet or less units built on slabs.
And what is it called?
Appendix Q.
Appendix Q?
Yeah, and you can look up the Florida Building Code and just Google Appendix Q, and it'll pop right up. Or if you want, you talk to Mark, because I know you know Mark.
And that's
from
a
the
less
committee.
expensive way of constructing?
Well, no, what it does is it gives your building department a specific building code to use for 400 square foot less. There's all different, like you said, with the 3D printing, et cetera. Ours are going to be like tilt-up construction. We're going to use a concrete panel. They're going to be energy stingy. We're also putting our houses in a circle to provide social connectivity. So the parking will be external, almost like a townhouse or a multifamily project. And then inside the circle will be a fire pit, barbecue grills, picnic tables, a small pavilion. We'll have a community building, et cetera. So what we're trying to do is do super high quality. And there's all levels of affordable housing. And, you know, Mark's going to hit his target is to do, people are making 30% of median income or less in terms of rental. Ours is not that. Kim's at Cornerstone is different. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. But I think the average new home price now in Volusia County is $377,000. The gentleman mentioned Daytona being less, but the new houses that came out of a Volusia County study are $377,000. So almost anything that's under 200 is generally now considered to be affordable. And so I think a lot of us are going to be trying to hit that number. The other thing is that the actual client for the house is going to be, there's a million different people. There's us aged people who are, let's say, spouses dying, want to downsize and move in a smaller house. We can have villages set up for veterans. We can have villages set up for the over 55. So there's a million different things. And we're anticipating 30% of our people are going to pay cash. So we're not necessarily, while we're affordable, we're not necessarily catering. Ours aren't going to cater to a very low income thing.
What is your average unit cost?
We're anticipating we're going to be in the neighborhood of 170,000. And what we're doing is any grants or any participation that we have that comes in from a city or a county or grants or whatever will just go to reducing the sales price.
Okay.
So
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay. All right.
Our next speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is Marjorie Johnson.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. And thank you. One of the things I was going to mention is you always start the timer when we are reading our credentials, and it's nice to get our full 3 minutes. Once again, I want to thank the commission for their unanimous support on the land. And I'm really looking forward to the final outcome in that. And I'm hoping that things, as I had talked about for the last year and a half, it will be a little bit more cost effective than what we could possibly end up in. But it is good to see that I've got unanimous support now from the city commission, and that means a lot to us citizens because you are representing us. I've also spoken numerous times on pedestrian safety and how we need to standardize here. And we just recently did the upgrade thing we talked about on Main Street. I would still entertain, and I'm going to speak to the mayor and the city manager on this, we get a work committee, workshop on the proper ways that we can improve the pedestrian and tourist safety here in town, because as I said, running them over is not really a good conducive way to build our businesses. There's numerous other subjects that I wanted to talk about. I am really excited about the affordable housing, and as it was pointed out, there are several different groups out there. I'm a big fan of the boxable homes, which are in the $50,000 range, and you can set them up in a day. They just come on a truck and you unfold them, and there you go, instant houses. I do believe that they need to go into communities. I think the communities should be staged for different levels of people. As was mentioned, the demographics are really important. Of course, I'm very active in my veterans group. We help other veterans, and I know that some of the guys there could use the help and support. The concepts of the communities with the areas where you have the social interaction with the communities gives you that sense of family too. And I think it's very important, especially as he mentioned the demographic groups that were talked about. So I'm really excited about that as well. So I'm looking forward to the workshop on that, and I hope it's going to come soon. As was stated earlier, sometimes it's time for action instead of rhetoric, and I think we're really at that point, because the recent trends in housing has moved that goal. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you've talked about this for several years now. It's getting further and further away from the dream. And that is one thing that's key to our community, to building it up and to making it a more desirable area for people to live and enjoy it. The other thing I hope we can talk about too is the education in our community is something we really, really need to improve. We need to not be D schools. We need to start working on A schools. And I know the mayor is behind that as well, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Marjorie Johnson, and on deck is Suzanne Odino.
Marjorie Johnson. I would just like to thank you, City Manager, for the meeting that we had, and it was very productive. Since we don't have access to our mayor or our commissioner, and they are not accessible as far as meeting with us. Last meeting I had, they didn't show. They said they would set up another meeting, and it never happened. So thank you also for what you've done with our water bill. You have fixed that. They went up every year on it for years, and people are on fixed budgets here. So now that is fixed. I went to the pavilion up there on City Isle, and it's in deplorable condition. It needs to be fixed. There's bird crap all over when Derek took office, they removed all the benches. The people don't have access to use that pavilion. I like that pavilion open to the public like it was for many years when Bud Asher was here, when the former mayor was here. We need to have access to this stuff that we are paying taxes for. The bird crap is all over the pavement up there, and the benches and tables have been moved. We need to put them back. Also, you told me to get a list of the streets that need to be paved, and I did that. And I went down to Bellevue and got that list. There were some streets on there that need to be paved that wasn't on that list. And one of them was Keach Street, my street, all cracked up in front of the mosque. My street, there's cracks in front of my house. I went and talked to Andrew, and they did put those streets on the list. Also, on Keach Street, I'm right behind the craft stop, Bradmere International. We need a light at that intersection. There have been so many accidents at that intersection, and every other 2 or 3 months there's an accident there. I know it's close together, but at Daytona State College have lights that's close together, and it's difficult to get across the street. Also, the lots in the back here at City Hall needs to be parked. Very deplorable condition. They talked about building another City Hall when the other city manager was here. That lot needs to be paved. Also, the lot at the library. I'm on the library board, and that lot is full of holes, and the city owns that lot. It needs to be paved. It's been hole after hole after hole was fixed. So we need to fix that parking lot over there at the library over there. Also, down the street from my house, again, that yard needs to be cut in the 200 block. 6 feet high again. You need to do your job that we're paying you to do. We need to have access to our commissioners.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Suzanne Odina, and on deck is Patricia Hurd.
Ms. Adina?
Hi there, I'm Suzanne Odina. I live at 716 North Wild Olive.
What's that?
Yeah, excuse me, ma'am. Are you here to speak on behalf or related to matters for the Affordable Housing Advisory Board? Yes.
We have a conflict
We have a
of,
conflict, right. So I want to avoid any appearance of a sunshine law issue. So Mr. Gallus has already spoken on several matters which foreseeably may come before the board. I would advise you not to speak on any matters which he's already spoken to. And although this is a public meeting, it's not a public meeting of the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. So we do have a sunshine law issue. So I just wanted to give you that advice before you spoke. Okay.
so on the Volusia County Advisory Board and also on the Realtors Advisory Board. So in that vein, I would like to invite you on April 13th to come to the Volusia County Affordable Housing Advisory Board meeting. We will be hearing from the affinity studies that are being done currently. I also want to make mention of the buzzwords that are out there for people looking to come to Daytona or any of the other cities. They are walkability and livability. In the United States, we tend to move north and west. We leave empty spaces behind. So I might also encourage you to keep in mind infill. Thank you.
Nice job, Sue.
Last call for Patricia Hurd. Okay. Then it's Antoinette, and I'm sorry, I always get your last name wrong, from Daytona Express. Did you want to speak?
She was watching. Got mad. Oh, she lived in Flat.
Hello, Commissioners, Mayor,
Good evening.
City Manager. Excuse my lax attire at this meeting. I was actually at.
Last name.
I'm sorry, Antoinette Noelian. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Noelian. I was actually watching the DBTV, the meeting at track practice tonight. So I just wanted to address a concern that I heard in regards to the credibility of us being a nonprofit. And we have been active on the state of Florida's Division of Corporations as a nonprofit since September of 2013. And I thank Mr. Fieschi for also addressing that as well, about the validity of it. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, I hope you know that people who don't live here or don't service our children will not inhibit us from helping the children. And that's what we're about. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Well said. 'Cause that was about.
Our next speaker is Ann Ruby, and on deck, is it Rena Lee?
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I want to say that Dennis Morozek's presentation on College Town was amazing. I hope we can do that same kind of presentation on our area. So we got to get those drone shots now. The other thing that was great on it was really wonderful to see that they were able to outline a parcel and color it in. I'm hoping that's the kind of attention to detail you're going to get on your map. Bless you. Bless you.
She's not ready to pray yet.
I'm holding her tight.
Hold her tight.
That's the kind of attention to detail and effort that you'll get when you get your redevelopment map. so that it won't just be round circles, but it'll be all the parcels and developments outlined and color coded, because that'll be informative. So thank you. But that was a great presentation. Thank you. I do hope also that as we have all this excitement coming with our new development, we won't forget two things. One, moving bodies around, which we need to work with Votran to get a free trolley going. And it's going to be a big push because they're short on drivers. They're always short on money, but it will work and it will energize all those corridors. So I really, if we can start pushing that with Votran, I think that would be wonderful. The other thing is, let's preserve our historic things, the rec center, the Josie Rogers House, the Black History Trail. Those are significant things that are very unique to Daytona Beach, and that's what makes our city special. If we tear it all down, if we repurpose all that land, we have just made ourselves ordinary USA. So while College Town is great, we can't tear everything down to make it new. And finally, I always have a lot to say, and I hear you guys are planning a lot of workshops. I don't think there's anything that legally precludes public comment at a workshop. I think that was a custom from Jim Chisholm's era. But I do think that when citizens are interested enough to show up at a workshop, it might be nice to allow them to comment. That's all. Thank you. Good night.
We don't want to be there all night. But
Our next speaker, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, is it Rena Lee about the hygiene dispensers in the public bathrooms? Okay. And our final speaker tonight is Jenny Nazak.
Good evening, city leaders and fellow citizens. Jenny Nazak, 501 Harvey Avenue. Just a few eco bits. The other day at Daisy Stocking Park, I noticed 2 little baby oak trees. I don't know when they got planted, but I was so happy because we do need to raise up the next generation of oak trees. And it's very exciting. Oak trees are awesome in many ways. And the Breakers Oceanfront Park Environmental Learning Center appears to be going to be open again. There's going to be a presentation about bees and beekeeping on February 9th at like 9:30. So whoever's responsible for getting that open again, thank you also. Let's see, BTAB, Beautification Tree Advisory Board. Several citizens are applying to fill the vacancies, and I am reapplying to step back into the position I've vacated because I've resolved various work-related conflicts and other assorted dilemmas that I had perceived before that no longer exist. Rainfall report. I have 3 numbers for you, 0.80, 2.73, and 29.3. 0.80 was the rainfall total in January. 2.73 inches is our historic average in January. January is one of our drier months, and yet the rainfall in January was only 29.3% of the historic average. In general, over the past few years, many of the dry months are getting drier, and many of the wet months are getting wetter. My grassroots organization, Daytona Beach Permaculture Guild, is going to become a lot more lively about promoting rainwater collection and getting citizens aware about rainfall and how important it is. And there's lots of ways to collect rainfall. Besides, you can have cisterns and so on, but also there's ways to turn the ground into a sponge and collect lots of rainfall and let it percolate down into the aquifer and even out the wets and the dries. Finally, it is true, there is a rumor that I have purchased a motor vehicle. It is a 2006 Honda Rebel 250 motorcycle. It is for recreational purposes. I have burned 2.5 gallons of gasoline since October, and I do factor it into my carbon budget. My main mode of transport remains the number 11 bus, otherwise known as my Subarus or Lamborghinis. But in any case, if you see me riding around on a motorcycle, yes, it is me. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonders of your personality and service to the community. The retreat date, the manager has.
We may have to change the retreat date. Commissioner Cantu will be participating and being honored with some veteran stuff on that day that was on the calendar that was overlooked from 12 to 4. So we will be offering some other option days for the retreat. And I'm doing this to make Commissioner Cantu happy.
Yeah, and we're gonna make Commissioner Cantu happy.
This is something we have every single year, and I totally forgot when we were up here, and I'm being recognized.
What was the original date?
The 26th.
26. So we'll
26.
some more dates out.
Okay.
And call you to get the right date for right after that.
Thank you. Any day is fine.
Oh, I
I'll
have
make it
one
work.
request. I would like for the police department to give me the numbers on how many people we are short and how many we have been able to hire. Give me some data on our hiring from the last few years, how if we're catching up, and just share that with me. I'd like to be able to talk about it at the 2 o'clock bar closings. So share that with me. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Good night, Daytona Beach.